Chapter 24. Su Yuro makes a fool of herself. Luli felt a gust of cold wind blow at him. He insisted, "Marquis, I truly like Miss." "Shut up. How dare you say such words?" "Men, chase him out of the Marquis manor." Su Dingheng was embarrassed and angry, and he could only vent all his anger on him. Marquis, I truly like." "Wait." Before Luli was pulled out, Su Yingxue walked up to him and looked down at him. "You said that you really like me. Do you know what my nickname is?" Luli rolled his eyes. "Schwer. Miss, when I was with you, you said that you liked it when I call you like this." "My younger sister doesn't have a nickname." Su Hao's face was cold, and his clear eyes released a cold, killing intent. "You've never seen my younger sister before. Who instructed you to slander her?" "I?" Lu Li's heart skipped a beat as he subconsciously looked at Su Yuro. Su Yuro quickly hid behind Su Dingheng and sobbed weakly. Su Hao immediately wanted to interrogate Lu Li, but Su Dingheng stopped him. "Enough. Isn't this embarrassing enough? Quickly chase him out of the Marquis manor." "Father, sister has been framed. We must prove her innocence and find the person behind it." Su Hao couldn't tolerate it. Su Yuro looked at Su Hao timidly, her eyes suffused with a gentle light. "Father, I'm so envious of sister. Big brother is so protective of her, and he can't bear to let her suffer even a little grievance. If this happened to me, I wonder if big brother would protect me like this. Ruer, with daddy here, I won't let anyone bully you like this." When Su Dingheng saw her cry, his heart ached for his precious daughter. He wasn't stupid. He could guess what had happened today. However, how could he bear to expose Su Yuro and let her be punished? He had a serious look on his face. "Howard, that's enough." If she had obediently stayed in the residence and not gone out to show her face, how could such a thing have happened? In the end, even if your sister was wronged, it's all her fault for not loving herself. "Father, what are you talking about?" Even though Su Hao had a good temper, he was so angry that his face turned ashen. To prevent him from having a conflict with Su Dingheng, Su Yingxue held his arm. "Brother, father is right. I didn't tell him in advance. The next time the 9th prince asks me to treat him, I will definitely let father know." "You?" Su Dingheng held his breath. She still dared to go to the 9th prince's place. She was deliberately angering him to death. "Father, anger hurts the liver. Why don't you finish your breakfast at my place before leaving? Anyway, Yuro came to look for me for breakfast." Su Yingxue raised her eyebrows at Su Yuro. Su Yuro obediently agreed. When Su Yingxue walked past her, she did not notice it at all. However, Su Yingxue had long smelled it and conveniently pulled out the laxative from her waist. Breakfast was served on the table. Su Yuro never expected Su Yingxue to eat so well. Bird's nest and white fungus porridge, 8 treasures candy duck, and stewed codfish with silver thread. It was even more sumptuous than the banquet of the Marquis manor. Recalling the few plates of porridge and side dishes she had in the morning, the jealousy in Su Yuro's heart erupted like a volcano. But in front of everyone, she had to endure it with all her might. Su Dingheng's brows were also tightly furrowed. "Who gave you the money to buy these things?" He, the Marquis, could not even afford to eat all these delicacies. But Su Yingxue had a normal expression. Su Yingxue's tone was calm. "I didn't steal or snatch it. Father, don't worry. Bastard, since you have so much silver, why don't you give it to me to keep for you?" The anger in Su Dingheng's heart burned. He had been in charge of the Marquis manor's accounts all these years and had moved quite a bit into his own private treasury. He did not expect that Su Yingxue still had money in her hands and had not given him any out of respect. "Do I have to give every sin I have to you? Moreover, mother had given me 10 shops, I gave father 9, and 6 of them had closed down. Father, your ability is limited. It's better not to trouble you." Su Yingxue ate the bird's nest calmly, completely ignoring the fact that she had slapped Su Dingheng's face. Su Dingheng was filled with anger. He flicked his sleeves and left. He had made up his mind that when Su Yingxue was not around, he would definitely investigate properly. Where did she get so much money? Su Yuro also left. Su Hao frowned deeply and punched the table. "Father is too much." He even wanted to scheme against his sister's money. Sure, brother, listen. Su Yingxue put her index finger to her lips, and a hint of craftiness flashed across her eyes. Su Hao held his breath and suddenly heard a puff-puff sound coming from the courtyard. Su Yuro immediately shouted, "How could this be? My dress." There was another series of puffing sounds. Su Yuro screamed, covered her face, and ran away. Jilan rushed in with a smile. Miss Yuro, she ha ha ha." The corners of Su Yingxue's mouth curled up, and the smile reached her eyes. Su Hao guessed what had happened. He was originally a little embarrassed, but when he saw Su Yingxue smile, he felt very comforted. The ninth prince's mansion. Emochi captured Lu Li and brought him back to the prince's mansion. At the same time, he told Chu Yihan everything that had happened in the Marquis Manor that he had seen from the roof. Chu Yihan used Su Yingxue's handkerchief to wrap the jade pendant. His eyes were cold like ice that would not melt for thousands of years. He opened his thin lips and spat out a single word coldly, "Kill." Before Lu Li could beg for mercy, he rolled his eyes and fell to the ground. Su Hao rested at home for a few days. When the day of the conferment arrived, he had to go to the military camp. He was worried about Su Yingxue. In order to make him feel at ease, Su Yingxue brought him to the medical center. In the back hall of the center, Su Hao looked surprised. "This is the shop that mother left for you?" "That's right. Look at how I managed the business." Su Yingxue was a little proud, and Su Hao was very pleased. "It's doing very well." His sister had surprised him again. What surprised him even more was the busy figure in front of the spice and herb counter. Wu Jinyin was dressed in a sky-blue traditional dress. She was smiling as she explained the usage of the medicine to a woman. Su Hao rushed to her like a young boy, his eyes full of joy. "Yenner, why are you here?" "Little girl, this must be your husband. He's so handsome. The two of you are so compatible." The woman covered her mouth and laughed, then took the medicine and left. Wu Jinyin looked at Su Hao with a smile and said in a gentle voice, "I work here, Miss Su. She treats me very well." "Work? Does your father know? Did your family make things difficult for you?" Su Hao's heart was in a mess. He knew that Wu Jinyin was having a hard time at home. Now that she came out to work in public, he was afraid that her days became even harder. "No, I'm fine." The smile on Wu Jinyin's face was as warm as a warm breeze. Chapter 25. Wu Jinyin knew that Su Hao was worried about her situation at home, so she tried her best to comfort him. "My father never cared about what I did. As long as I don't embarrass the minister's estate, no one will stop me. But you have to work here during the day and go to Fufeng Center at night. Isn't it too tiring?" For the first time, Su Hao felt that he was useless. His heart ached for Wu Jinyin, but he didn't know how he could help her. "Yenner, if you're willing, brother." Su Yingxue interrupted Su Hao's words and pulled him to the side. Wu Jinyin was about to prescribe medicine to the patient. Su Hao's words, which he had prepared for a long time, were interrupted. There was a trace of heaviness between his brows. "Sister, why don't you let me say it? I want to marry her and let her live a stable life." "Brother, if you ask her to marry you now, I'm afraid she won't have a peaceful life in the future. Moreover, she won't see you again." Su Yingxue shook her head. With her brother's EQ, he would need her help to get together with Wu Jinyin. "Why? She's living such a hard life now. Don't tell me you think that being the young madam of the Marquis Manor isn't tough?" She had no family background and capital to rely on, so how could her days in the Marquis Manor be easy? "And do you think father will agree to you marrying her?" Su Yingxue thought that her brother understood what she meant. Su Hao's heart became heavier. If I could set up another residence, she wouldn't have to lead such a tough life. "Brother, you grew up in the military camp, so you don't understand how difficult it is for a woman to survive. Miss Wu has been through a lot since she was young. It's already not easy for her to get to where she is today with her own wisdom. Instead of marrying her and giving her a comfortable life, it's better to let her develop her own skills and have enough strength to marry you openly." Su Yingxue's eyes were bright and beautiful, like the sunshine in spring. It wasn't that Su Hao hadn't thought about her words. "This path is too difficult. I don't want her to work so hard." "But brother, you're always on the battlefield. How can you be by her side all the time? Su Yingshi's eyebrows twitched. Su Hao was instantly speechless and a little depressed. I really can't do it, but I think Miss Wu can do it, Su Yingxue said firmly. When Su Hao came out from the back hall again, his expression was much more relaxed. There was a bright smile on his handsome face. Yenner, I will come to see you again. You, take good care of yourself. Wu Jinyin lowered her head shyly, and her voice was extremely gentle. Yes, the sachet from last time. I bring it with me every day. Su Hao quickly took out the sachet from his pocket and showed it to her, then put it away like a treasure. Wu Jinyin felt a warm current in her heart. She was extremely touched. What she was afraid of was not the difference in status between her and Su Hao. What she cared about was his feelings for her. She knew that he cherished it very much. This was enough to support her through every day's tiring and difficult life. At the Marquis Manor, Su Yuro soiled herself. Not only was her image ruined, but she was also extremely uncomfortable. When she came back, she realized that the laxative on her waist was gone. When she was lying on the bed weakly, she even called out hatefully, Su Yingxue, you harmed me. She instructed Yuan Ruo to look for Su Jinxian and ask him to investigate Su Yingxue. She had to find out what she had been doing recently based on her whereabouts. When Su Jinxian sent the news back, Su Yuro was still so weak that she couldn't even get out of bed. When she found out that Su Yingxue had opened Tongcheng Medical Center, her eyes flashed with ruthlessness. Yuan Ruo, pass my message to Jinxian. She wanted Su Yingxi's medical center to close down. Su Yingxue went out to treat patients for a few days in a row and cured the long-term illnesses of a few wealthy families. She received a lot of remuneration and gifts. Manager Chi flipped through the account book with a happy expression. In less than half a month, we've made tens of thousands of taels of silver. This is really amazing. Su Yingxue nodded. With the capital, we can do more things. Miss, what else do you want to do? Manager Chi was very excited. He felt that Su Yingxue could bring more surprises and incredulity. Su Yingxue opened the window and pointed at the building across the street. Get that building and ask Miss Wu if she's willing to. Before she could finish speaking, there was a commotion downstairs. A group of strong men rushed into the medical center. The leader slammed a bag of medicine on the table and shouted, "What medical center is this? I ate your medicine, and my condition has worsened. Are you trying to kill me?" Manager Chi hurriedly went downstairs and walked in front of him. Sir, let's talk things out. If you feel that the medicine is not good, you can ask the doctor to take your pulse again and prescribe new medicine for you. Bang! The man gave Manager Chi a punch and knocked him to the ground. Then, he waved his hand and ordered his brothers behind him, hit him, smash it, smash this black-hearted clinic, and don't let them continue to harm people. The clinic was full of patients. When they saw this scene, they all ran out of the clinic. The man in the lead picked up Manager Chi, but before he could do anything, he was hit by a teapot. He flew out and sank into the wall. The brothers behind him were shocked. They followed the trail of the teapot and looked up the stairs. Su Yingxue was dressed in a red tight-fitting outfit. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and she looked heroic. On her beautiful face, there was an unattainable coldness. She looked at her hand with a hint of disgust in her eyes. This strength, isn't this a little too abnormal? Little Ginseng's lazy and crisp voice sounded. If you don't want it, you can return it to me. Hurry up and take care of those people. Su Yingxue slowly walked downstairs. You're just here to watch the show. Usually, it kept quiet. Nonsense, if you don't fight, who will come out and watch? Who doesn't like to sleep? Isn't it nice to see a fight? Of course it is, quickly fight. Roar. The man in the wall was pulled out. He clutched his aching chest and coughed heavily. You, woman, am going to. They'll beat you to death. Su Yingxi's expression was cold. Her red lips curled up slightly as she spat out two arrogant and cold words. Come over. Ah! Bang, bang, bang. It hurts. Miserable cries rose and fell. Within the time it takes for an incense stick to burn, all the troublemakers had fallen to the ground. Su Yingxue stepped on the man in the lead and ordered Manager Chi. Inform the government office that someone is causing trouble. Yes, miss. Manager Chi supported himself with his hands on his waist as he instructed the people. However, before the people from the government office arrived, this group of people had already run away. Su Yingxue did not stop them on purpose. After the people from the government office arrived, she cooperated and recorded their statements before tidying up the clinic. Manager Chi rubbed his aching waist and was very puzzled. Who is targeting the medical center? Su Yingxue frowned slightly. Those people are burly and their martial arts aren't weak. They are soldiers. Soldiers? Why would our center offend them? Manager Chi did not understand. But what surprised him even more was, Miss, you are indeed the tigress of the family of generals. Your skills are extraordinary. The corners of Su Yingxue's lips twitched, but she did not say that it was all thanks to the little ginseng. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 26. Lift the ban on the medical center. As for the people who came to smash the medical center today, she had to investigate them carefully. She told Su Hao about this. When Su Yuro received Su Jingxuan's message, she found out that not only did their people not destroy the center, but they were also taught a lesson by Su Yingxue. She gritted her teeth in anger and casually smashed a valuable jade piece. Yuan Ruo was a little anxious for her. Miss, we can't go on like this. If Su Yingxue comes to deal with us after she has money and power, your days will be even worse. As Su Yuris maid, she was also thinking for herself. If Su Yuris' status in the Marquis manor fell, she would not have a good life. Su Yuris' face darkened. Of course I know. However, she couldn't personally come out and ruin Su Yingxue's reputation. Only her father, Su Dingheng, could take on the role of the bad guy. Su Dingheng soon heard the news of Su Yingxue beating someone up on the street. Especially after he found out how big the medical center was. Su Dingheng was so angry that his face turned green. This unfilial daughter has such a big medical center in her hands, and she didn't hand it over to me. Does she still think of me as her father? Father, don't be angry over such a small matter. The money that sister earns is definitely used to show filial piety to you. Su Yuro was very understanding, comforting Su Dingheng with a gentle voice. Su Dingheng felt gratified. Ruer, you're the most filial. Unlike your sister, that rebellious daughter, who acts behind my back. If she doesn't hand over the money she earns to me, her father, she will be committing treason. Su Dingheng waited until the evening when Su Yingxue came back. He told her to hand over all the income of the medical center to him and let him manage it. Su Yingxue had a mocking look on her face. Father, if you can manage the shop that I gave you before, you won't have to think about the medical center's revenue. What are you talking about? You're my daughter, so the money you earn, isn't it mine? Su Dingheng was confident and wanted to control Su Yingxue to satisfy his greed. Then why didn't you think that I was your daughter when you hit me in the past? Did you give me something good? Or did you dote on me before? The corners of Su Yingxue's mouth curled up into a mocking arc. Su Dingheng's face instantly turned red. He raised his hand, wanting to slap Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue raised her beautiful face, and a cold glint flowed in her eyes, causing Su Dingheng's hand to stop in midair. Her terrifying gaze made Su Dingheng hesitate. After hesitating for a moment, Su Yingxue left. She still had patience to see tomorrow and did not want to waste time with Su Dingheng. Su Dingheng scolded her as she walked away. Bastard! Unfilial daughter! You're disobedient and unfilial. Daddy, don't be angry. Ruer's heart would ache. Su Yuro displayed her filial piety at the perfect time. With this comparison, Su Dingheng gritted his teeth in hatred towards Su Yingxue. I must take over her medical center tomorrow. How could he let Su Yingxue have such a profitable business? Father, I'm afraid it won't be that easy. There are rumors on the streets today that sister's martial arts are very strong, and she defeated many innocent people with her bare hands. Su Yuris' moist eyes revealed a hint of timidity. Su Dingheng also frowned. I don't know when this unfilial daughter learned martial arts, but how could I be afraid of her? Daddy, I don't want you to ruin your health due to anger. If you want to take back the medical center, why don't you send someone to watch over the medical center first and stop it from operating for the time being? After discussing it with sister, you will personally send someone to take over. Su Yuris' pure and flawless eyes glistened with tears. She was gentle and considerate. Su Dingheng smiled and nodded. That's a good idea. The next morning, he sent the soldiers of the Marquis Manor to surround the medical center. No one was allowed to enter or leave, and they were not allowed to operate the center. Many patients were blocked outside the door inside. Manager Chi wanted to communicate with this group of people, but they didn't speak at all. As long as they dared to take a step forward, they would be beaten and scolded at will. Early in the morning, Wu Jinyin was very worried when she saw that the center was surrounded and Manager Chi and the others were trapped inside. Manager Chi saw her in the crowd and shook his head at her, indicating for her not to get close to her in case she was caught. He then pointed at the backyard. Wu Jinyin went around to the backyard, and Manager Chi threw a note out from the crack in the door. Wu Jinyin saw the words written on it, Beijing Governor Liang's Manor. Looking for Mississippi, Wu Jinyin rushed to the Liang Manor. She could not enter and could only wait outside the door. 2 hours later, Su Yingxue, who was wearing a black veil and a bamboo hat, came out. Wu Jinyin quickly told her what had happened. Su Yingxue frowned and was about to rush back to the medical center when Wu Jinyin stopped her. Those are people from the Marquis Manor. Have you thought about how to deal with them? How do you know it's someone from the Marquis Manor? A hint of surprise flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. They are dressed like soldiers from the Marquis Manor, but there are only 2 Marquis Manor in Jiangdu City that are qualified to keep soldiers. The other old marquis wouldn't target our medical center for no reason, right? Wu Jinyin frowned slightly. She was observant and meticulous. Su Yingxue paced back and forth for 2 steps, then turned around to look at the horizontal board of the Liang Manor. She went to a secluded place, went into the Medicine King Valley to get some medicine, and then returned to the Liang Manor. She treated Mrs. Liang's hidden illness, and the effect was excellent. When Mrs. Liang saw that she had returned, she welcomed her with a smile. Did you leave something behind? Su Yingxue's tone carried a trace of regret. Madam, I'm here to leave medicine for you. Didn't you already prescribe 7 days' worth of medicine? Mrs. Liang asked curiously. They'll leave all the medicine I brought, just in case I can't treat you in the future and your recovery gets delayed. Su Yingxue sighed softly. Why? Could it be that you're in some kind of trouble? Or are you going to travel around? Mrs. Liang became nervous. Her hidden illness had not recovered for many years. After Su Yingxue's treatment, she recovered a lot. If she could not treat her anymore, she would have to suffer again. Su Yingxue's tone was filled with regret and helplessness. I was originally a doctor at Tongchang Medical Center. Now that the medical center has been banned for some reason, I can only leave Jiangdu City. Who is so bold as to seal up the medical center for no reason? Mrs. Liang had a noble status, so she was angry when she heard that. Don't be afraid. I'll immediately ask my husband to resolve this matter. Su Yingxue brought Wu Jinyin back to the manor and saw Yang Jin enter the manor with her own eyes. When Su Dingheng heard the servant's report, he was extremely puzzled. Why is he here? He had never had much of a relationship with Liang Jin, and Liang Jin was an upright person. He never came to the palace for no reason, so why would he suddenly come to the Marquis Manor? Su Dingheng did not have a military position and had been a civil official for many years. He was still very tactful in dealing with people. He invited Liang Jin to the main hall and used the most expensive snow sprout to entertain him. Chapter 27. Smashing Su Dingheng's courtyard. The fragrance of tea filled the air in the hall, but Liang Jin's expression did not improve. He coldly said, Marquis, do you treat me as non-existent? Su Dingheng was stunned, thinking that he had never offended Liang Jin. Lord Liang, what are you saying? We are officials of the same dynasty. I have always respected you. Marquis, you're respecting me while knowingly breaking the law? Tongchang Medical Center is operating with sincerity, but you sent soldiers to guard it and forbade it from opening. Do you know how many patients' illnesses have been delayed? Liang Jin asked with a stern face. Where did this come from? Lord Liang, you might not know this, but Tongchang Medical Center is opened by my unfilial daughter, Su Yingxue. She refused to hand over the medical center to me, so I came up with this plan. She's just a girl who hasn't seen the world. How can she manage the medical center well? Su Dingheng's heart was burning with rage. He didn't expect Liang Jin to find trouble with him because of this. At the same time, he scolded Su Yingxue several times in his heart. Miss Su's management of the medical center is not necessarily worse than yours, right? Liang Jin's eyes were filled with mockery. He took out a stack of complaints. This is the debt owed by the shop that you have closed down. The complaint was lodged by the commoners. Marquis, you mismanaged the business, resulting in losses, and yet you still have the cheek to ask for your daughter's medical center? Liang Jin's expression and words were harsh, and what he said scratched off a layer of Su Dingheng's shamelessness. Su Dingheng was both embarrassed and annoyed. What does these two things have to do with each other? I will return this money. When will you return it? Give me a word. Next time, when the court opens for a trial, I will have an explanation for the people. Liang Jin snorted coldly. I said I will return it. Lord Liang, why are you so aggressive? Tens of thousands of taels of silver. Wouldn't it feel good to have them on him? Why should it be given to those lowly commoners? Liang Jin had always looked down on Su Dingheng and did not hide the mockery in his eyes. Marquis, I advise you to withdraw those people as soon as possible. Otherwise, I will invite you to the capital governor's manor at any time to calculate the compensation for the people. Liang Jin, you're going too far. Su Dingheng smashed the teacup, his face ashen. Marquis Su, I'm just discussing the matter. Are you going to withdraw the soldiers of the Marquis Manor or not? Liang Jin glared at Su Dingheng, not giving in at all. Humph. Su Dingheng was like an angry rooster, unwilling to admit defeat in front of Liang Jin. Liang Jin waved his hand. Men, bring the shackles over and invite Marquis Su back to the capital governor's manor with me. You. Su Dingheng was frightened by Liang Jin's imposing manner. If he was really shackled and brought to the capital governor's manor by Liang Jin, he would lose his reputation. Anger, shame, hatred, and countless emotions surged up. Su Dingheng gritted his teeth and said, "They'll withdraw the people now." After saying that, he immediately ordered people to withdraw the soldiers surrounding the medical center. Liang Jin put away the complaint and left the Marquis Manor without even informing Su Dingheng. At the entrance of the Marquis Manor, he saw Su Yingxue wearing a black veil and bamboo hat. He stepped forward and said, "Genius doctor, don't worry. The soldiers at Tongchang Medical Center have already withdrawn. You can take care of the patient in peace." He looked at Su Yingxue with admiration. Su Yingxue smiled. "Thank you, Lord Liang, for helping the center out. There's no need to thank me. The big and small matters in Jiangdu City are all within my responsibility. Moreover, you cured my wife, so I can't thank you enough." At the mention of his wife, a hint of tenderness flashed across Liang Jin's eyes. Su Yingxue looked at him and suddenly thought of Chui Han. That stinky prince who stole her jade pendant and handkerchief was always cold when he looked at others, but to her. "Hey, you're thinking about love." The little ginseng's crisp and tender voice carried a hint of gossip. Su Yingxue immediately shook her head. "You're the one who's thinking about it. You're a little wimp who's thinking about all sorts of indecent things all day long." "Humph. I've lived longer than your ancestors and have seen a lot of things. Sooner or later, you'll be tricked." Little ginseng stuck out its tongue at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue's eyes were filled with anger. She would be tricked by Chui Han? No way. After the medical center was sealed for a day, it operated normally. Manager Qi and Wu Jinyan were also very busy. Su Yingxue helped them and only returned to the manor late at night. Without waiting for her to rest, Zhilan quietly told her, "Miss, the Marquis just came and smashed the courtyard." He was especially angry. Su Yingxue returned to the courtyard and saw that it was a mess that had not been cleaned up. She was so angry that she curled her lips. Great, just great. Calling him father was giving him face, wasn't it? Su Yingxue rolled up her sleeves and rushed into Su Dingheng's courtyard, giving him a fright as he was about to rest. His face was filled with horror. "You unfilial daughter, do you want to die? How dare you barge into my courtyard?" "Father, you can barge into my courtyard, so why can't I barge into yours?" Su Dingheng moved his mouth, but before he could speak, Su Yingxue shouted first, "Just because you're my father? So you won't even let go of my medical center? You were humiliated today, and now you want to put the blame on me. You unfilial daughter." I knew it was you who instigated Liang Jin. Otherwise, why would Liang Jin suddenly come to him to dig up old scores and attack him so ruthlessly? It was all because of Su Yingxue, this disobedient thing? But how do you know Liang Jin? He couldn't figure it out again. Forget about Su Yingxue's medical center that was left behind by her mother. With Liang Jin's official position and temper, even he didn't dare to offend him. How could Su Yingxue order him to do anything? Father, you want to know? The corners of Su Yingxue's mouth curled up into an evil smile. Su Dingheng snorted coldly. The smile in Su Yingxue's eyes instantly turned cold. What can you do to me if I don't tell you? You unfilial daughter. Su Dingheng picked up a vase and threw it at Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue was not hit, but the vase was smashed into pieces. Su Dingheng's heart ached. Father, you smashed my courtyard. Why don't I show my filial piety to you too? Su Yingxue smiled coldly. Then, with a few punches and kicks, she smashed all the valuable items in Su Dingheng's room. She even pulled out all the exotic flowers and plants in his courtyard. Su Dingheng jumped up in anger and shouted crazily, Su Yingxue, are you crazy? I'm going to beat you to death. Is that so? Father, this pot of orchids seems to be quite expensive. It was cultivated in the palace, right? As soon as Su Yingxue finished speaking, the flower pot shattered with a bang. She even stomped on it a few times. Su Dingheng clutched his chest hard. That pot of orchids is worth thousands of gold. Su Yingxue. Chapter 28. Su Dingheng vomited blood out of anger. Father, you smashed my courtyard, and I smashed yours. This debt is even. Su Yingxue looked at the mess in satisfaction and clapped her hands. Her eyes reflected the moonlight, and it was so cold that it made people panic. Father, as for the matter of you sending people to surround my medical center, I will also settle it with you properly. You bastard. Bastard. Su Dingheng held onto the treasure that Su Yingxue had smashed and cried out. His miserable voice could be heard by the entire Marquis Manor. Jilan watched from outside the door and quickly handed a handkerchief to Su Yingxue. Her eyes were filled with reverence. Miss, you've worked hard. Quickly wipe your sweat. Su Yingxue pinched her soft cheeks and praised her. How thoughtful. Jilan remembered how Su Yingxue tried her best to please Su Dingheng when Su Dingheng despised her. Now that she saw her like this, she felt especially relieved. Su Yingxue patted her head. Today, I exercised my muscles and bones and am going to have a good sleep. I have more important things to do tomorrow. All right. Jilan also became excited like Su Yingxue. The next morning, Su Yingxue brought Jilan out and went to a grain and oil shop. This shop was also left behind by Su Yingxue's mother. Previously, she had foolishly given it to Su Dingheng. It was one of the 3 shops in Su Dingheng's hands that did not lose money and were the most profitable. Su Dingheng sealed off her medical center, so she would take back his shop. She remembered that in her previous life, the person who managed this shop was Su Dingheng's confidant, Zhang Qi. He had a son at an old age, but his youngest son was born with a congenital deficiency. He had been taking medicine all year round to keep his life, but he still could not live past 8 years old. If she calculated the time, he would die at the end of this year. Su Yingxue found Zhang Qi in the grain and oil shop and directly told him her purpose for coming. This shop was left behind by my mother. Now, you should hand over the account book to me and let me take care of it. Zhang Qi had heard that Su Yingxue was different from before, but he still subconsciously looked at her with disdain. Miss, are you able to read the accounts? Do you know how to do business and manage the shop? Miss doesn't need you to teach her. You only need to know that your boss is Miss and not anyone else. Jilan said in an imposing manner. Zhang Qi rolled his eyes. I only listen to the Marquis' orders. If there's nothing else, please leave. I don't have much to do. I just don't know if your seriously ill son can live past this year if he doesn't get treated properly. A trace of regret flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. After saying that, she stood up and was about to leave. Zhang Qi suddenly became nervous. Wait, miss, what did you mean by that? Could it be that you have a way to cure my son's illness? Tongchang Medical Center that's run by Miss has recently hired a genius doctor. Hasn't manager Zhang heard of this? Jilan winked playfully. Zhang Qi thought about it carefully and remembered Tongchang Medical Center. It was quite famous more than 10 years ago, but it had been silent for a long time. It was said that it had expanded and reopened recently. If they really had a genius doctor who could cure his son. Zhang Qi knelt in front of Su Yingxue, his eyes pleading. If the genius doctor in Miss Medical Center can cure my son, I'm willing to do my best for you. Take your son and follow me to the medical center. All right. Zhang Qi was so excited that he immediately went home to carry his son and brought him to the medical center. He wanted to go with his son to see the genius doctor, but Manager Qi stopped him with a smile. Apologies. Outsiders are not allowed to approach when the genius doctor is doing a consultation. Zhang Qi had no choice but to wait outside. 2 hours later, Su Yingxue brought his son out. His originally sickly and skinny son was now holding Su Yingxue's hand and walking downstairs. Zhang Qi's eyes widened in disbelief. Son, you can walk. That's right, father. I feel much better. Moreover, I'm very hungry. A smile appeared on the child's face. Zhang Qi nodded excitedly. I'll bring you home for dinner. Zhang Qi picked up his son and kowtowed to Su Yingxue. Thank you, miss, for saving my son. The shop belongs to you, so I will definitely return it. Manager Zhang, if you are willing, I will still let you manage the shop. However, the shop will belong to me from now on. Su Yingxue's face was cold and her tone was fierce. Zhang Kix had his misgivings, but he could tell that compared to Su Dingheng, who was just sitting around and enjoying the fruits of his labor, Su Yingxue was more ruthless and decisive. She was a better boss. He gritted his teeth and lowered his head. As long as my son is fine, I will definitely take care of the shop for you. This is the first medicine. Give it to your son according to the prescription on it. I guarantee that he will grow up like a normal child. But if you betray me, Su Yingxue's eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty sharpness. Zhang Qi trembled in fear. I wouldn't dare. Between his loyalty to Su Dingheng and his son's life, Zhang Qi would naturally choose the latter. After all, no one would abandon their own bloodline. The news of Su Yingxue taking over the grain and oil shop quickly reached Su Dingheng's ears. Su Dingheng had not received the shop's revenue for the current month. When he saw the tens of thousands of taels of silver that originally belonged to him go into Su Yingxue's purse, he was so angry that he almost vomited blood. He wanted to go to Su Yingxue's courtyard and smash it up, but then he remembered that his courtyard had been smashed by Su Yingxue. She would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. If she smashed his courtyard again, wouldn't he suffer even more? Su Dingheng was so angry that he paced back and forth. He had wanted to wait for Su Yingxue to come back and scold her, but she did not care at all. Instead, she ignored him. Su Yingxue knew that Su Dingheng had lost the silver and was holding back her anger. She was very happy and gave the servants in the courtyard a reward. She even gave them better food. Su Yuro passed by Su Yingxue's courtyard. Even she could not help but smell the smell of a feast being cooked inside. Jilan and old Madame Zhang bought fresh birds' nests to stew. Seeing Su Yuro at the door, Jilan laughed loudly and said, Auntie Zhang, this bird's nest is really expensive. It must be especially nourishing. That's right. Our miss is amazing. Even servants like us could eat the bird's nest with Mississippi. Miss rewarded us with 3 taels of bird's nest each. We have to nourish ourselves. Jilan and old Madame Zhang chatted and laughed as they entered the courtyard. When Su Yuro heard their words, her face contorted in anger. You two cheap maids don't deserve to eat 3 taels worth of bird's nest. What right do they have? Young miss, the eldest young miss is too much. You only have 1 or 2 taels worth of bird's nest every day. Isn't she clearly showing off? Yuan Rua's eyes had a sour expression. They were both serving misses. Jilan and old Madame Zhang each had 3 taels worth of bird's nests to eat, but she had never even smelled a bird's nest before. Su Yuro twisted the handkerchief in her hand. She's not showing off. She's deliberately slapping me in the face. She was so angry that she ran to Su Dingheng to complain, saying that she also wanted 3 taels worth of bird's nests a day. Chapter 29. The Imperial Edict arrives at the medical center, the 9th Prince's mansion. Mo Qi reported the matter of the Marquis Manor to Chu Yihan. Your Highness, Miss Su made Marquis Su so angry that he vomited blood. The military book in his hand was boring. When Chu Yihan heard this, the corners of his mouth curled up into a seductive smile. Su Yingxue, how many more surprises do you have? Emochi's lips twitched. Surprises? In the entire Jiangdu city, the only person who could make her father vomit blood was probably Miss Su, right? Of course she's different. Chu Yihan's face was full of pride as if he was praising his woman. Emochi was curious. Master, is this the reason why you like her? She was exceptionally ruthless? Chu Yihan's eyes flashed coldly. Shallow. Was he only interested in her uniqueness? Su Dingheng fainted from anger and vomited blood. On account of the fact that he was his biological father, Su Yingxue prescribed a dose of medicine for him to recuperate. Su Dingheng had been feeling much better after drinking the medicine, but when he heard that it was Su Yingxue who had given him the medicine, he immediately fainted again. With the medicine taking effect, he would not vomit blood again. However, the anger in his heart was like a stone that was stuck there. It was so painful that he could not even get out of bed. Su Yuro helped Su Dingheng with drinking the medicine. She had nowhere to vent her anger. If we let her continue to be so smug, she will take away all of our family assets. That's right, Mississippi. If you don't think of a way, the Marquis won't have much money left. Yuan Ruo was also very anxious. Su Yuro was like an ant on a hot pan. If she wanted to deal with Su Yingxue, she had to understand her. The person Su Jinxian sent to investigate came to report to her. Only then did she know that Liang Jin had come to look for her father and threatened him to withdraw the soldiers guarding the medical center because there was a genius doctor who had cured his wife's hidden illness for many years. Liang Jin had always loved his wife, and that was why he did that. Also, her father's trusted aide, Zhang Qi, had suddenly become Su Yingxue's subordinate because that genius doctor had cured his congenitally deficient son. Speaking of which, Su Yingxue was able to obtain all of this because of her genius doctor. If that genius doctor of hers died, how long could she still be around? A trace of viciousness flashed across Su Yuris' eyes. She immediately changed her clothes and made a trip to the palace. At the medical center, Su Yingxue had just returned from a consultation when she saw a luxurious carriage parked outside the center. The people inside were kneeling on the ground. A eunuch said in a sharp voice, "Genius doctor, receive the decree." Su Yingxue frowned slightly and slowly knelt down. The eunuch opened the imperial edict and read it aloud. "The genius doctor's medical skills are brilliant, and you are specially summoned into the palace to treat Consort Xiang." Su Yingxue's heart sank. Why did the emperor ask her to treat Consort Xiang? When she received the imperial edict, the eunuch told her that a carriage would come to fetch her into the palace tomorrow at noon. He told her to prepare well, and she had to cure Consort Xiang. The eunuch who delivered the decree thought that she was just a commoner and specially reminded her, "Consort Xiang is a precious person to the emperor. If you can cure Consort Xiang, the emperor will definitely reward you handsomely. You will enjoy endless glory and wealth for the rest of your life." Su Yingxue curled her lips. "Thank you." The eunuch left with his men. Manager Qi immediately walked in front of Su Yingxue. "Miss, what should we do? The emperor has summoned you into the palace. It would be fine if she could cure the Consort Xiang, but if she couldn't, it would be a big problem. Su Yingxue's life would be in danger." Wu Jinyan thought carefully. "Although you have cured a few patients, how did the emperor know? Why would he suddenly summon you into the palace and ask you to treat Consort Xiang?" Chapter 30. Poison them all naturally. There are people who have the intention to push the waves. Su Yingxue curled her lips. She told Manager Qi not to worry and left him to work in the center. Only Wu Jinyan was worried. She quietly followed her upstairs to her private room. Su Yingxue knew that she was worried about her, so she was very friendly to her. "If you don't mind, Sister Jinyan, have a seat." Seeing that she was willing to get close to her, Wu Jinyan was very gratified. "You're flattering me by calling me sister. I'll tell you everything I know." Su Yingxue nodded. Wu Jinyan said that Consort Xiang was a princess of the western regions and had been sent to the great Qing dynasty for a marriage alliance. Because she was too beautiful, she had always been deeply favored by the emperor. However, After being favored by the emperor, she had been plagued with illness. Although she had been favored for so many years, no imperial physician had ever been able to cure her. This was something that Su Yingxue did not know. She only remembered that in her previous life, before she died horribly, Consort Xiang had already passed away. At that time, in order to pursue Chu Chengye, she got close to the empress. When Consort Xiang died, she happened to be in the palace. When the empress found out that Consort Xiang had died, she was overjoyed as if she had eliminated a great enemy. Consort Xiang's illness should be related to the empress. If she went into the palace this time, it would be a death sentence if she could not cure Consort Xiang. If she cured Consort Xiang, she would probably also make an enemy of the empress. What are you afraid of? Even if your head is chopped off, I can extend your life and let you continue fighting those bad women. The little ginseng started to make a fuss again. Su Yingxue scolded in a low voice. Shut up. Humph. Little ginseng was fuming. Yingxue, you. Wu Jinyan thought that Su Yingxue was too nervous and became a little angry. Su Yingxue said, It's fine, sister. You don't have to worry. I'm fine. Are you really okay? Yingxue, if you can decline, why don't you reveal your identity and let your brother beg the emperor to let this matter go? This was the only way Wu Jinyan could think of to protect Su Yingxue. Sister, do you want me to add to my brother's burden? Su Yingxue smiled. Wu Jinyan bit her lip. She naturally didn't want to. But you're also afraid that something will happen to me. So you feel sorry for my brother and don't want him to be sad, right? Su Yingxue's eyes under the black veil were filled with a crafty light. Wu Jinyan's face instantly turned red. I think you have a plan to deal with it. I'd better go and do my work first. Su Yingxue looked at her back and smiled. After closing the door, she entered the Medicine King Valley. She had picked some herbs to detoxify poison in the Medicine King Valley. Little ginseng hopped in front of her, a few roots floating arrogantly. Hey, why did you pick so many herbs to detoxify the poison? You haven't even diagnosed her yet. Su Yingxue did not stop moving. I've already guessed it. There are many women in the palace. After treating one, there are still many more. Why don't we poison them all? Little ginseng was simple and crude. Su Yingxue tugged at one of the roots and lectured it. You're so young, yet you're so vicious. It hurts. I'm not vicious. I'm thinking of you. You'll be fine if you poison them all. On its yellow body, its two white eyes were rolling around, and its face was filled with the grievance of being despised for thinking for her. Moreover, it reiterated very seriously, I can be your ancestor. I'm not young. All right, little ancestor. Su Yingxue patted it and coaxed it. After picking up the medicine, she returned to the Marquis Manor to sleep comfortably. The next morning, she waited in the medical center. Yesterday, she was still wondering who recommended her to treat Consort Xiang. Chapter 31. How long can you be arrogant? She knew the answer the moment the carriage entered the palace. Su Yura's carriage had already stopped at the palace gate. She didn't have to come today, but if she wanted to understand Su Yingxue, she had to meet this genius doctor. She saw the carriage that was bringing the genius doctor to a stop and a person dressed in black from head to toe alighted. She couldn't even see the person's face clearly. She immediately frowned. Why is it so strange? I can't even tell if that person is a man or a woman. Beside her, Yuan Rua's eyes were also filled with disgust. I heard that many strange people in the world dress like this as if they can't be seen. Looking at this figure, it's a woman, but it might be a transvestite. Su Yuro snorted lightly. Regardless of whether she was a human or a transvestite, she could forget about leaving the palace alive. Su Yingxue and Su Yuro walked towards Yunwei Palace under Eunuch Qin's lead. Eunuch Qin was the head eunuch of Consort Xiang's palace. He was slightly older and spoke in a more amiable voice than the eunuch who had delivered the decree in a shrill voice. Genius doctor, if you can cure the consort, your future will be boundless. Not only will the emperor reward you handsomely, but he will also give you a chance to enter the Imperial Academy of Medicine. The emperor treasures talents. Su Yuro smiled and agreed. That's right. The genius doctor's medical skills are brilliant. He will definitely be able to cure the consort. She boasted on behalf of Su Yingxue. If she couldn't be cured, this sentence would be her death warrant. Su Yingxue looked straight ahead and asked coldly, "What does it have to do with you that I'm here to treat the consort?" She treated her like air, the kind that even breathing was a hindrance. A trace of anger flashed in Su Yuris' eyes. She raised her chin high and said arrogantly, "I am the daughter of the Marquis of Martial South." Su Yingxue's tone was indifferent. "Oh, it has nothing to do with treating the consort. You." Su Yuro was suddenly embarrassed by her. Eunuch Qin hurriedly stepped forward to ease the atmosphere between them. "Genius doctor, you might not know about this, but you were able to enter the palace to treat Consort Xiang's illness. It's because of Miss Su's recommendation. Logically speaking, you should thank her." When Su Yuro heard this, she snorted lightly and waited for her to thank her. However, Su Yingxue did not even look at her. "Oh, I don't want to thank you." Eunuch Qin felt a little awkward. Su Yuro bit her lip. She remembered that she couldn't throw a tantrum in the palace, so she endured it. Su Yingxue and Eunuch Qin walked in front, while she cursed viciously from behind. "Who asked you to be Su Yingxue's people? You deserve to die." She would definitely die in the palace. Consort Xiang's illness could not be cured. Su Yuro and Su Yingxue paid their respects to Consort Xiang in the outer hall. Su Yingxue heard a weak voice coming from behind the curtain. "Get up." This was not Su Yuris' first time entering the palace, so she greeted Consort Xiang as if she was familiar with her. "Your Majesty, this divine doctor cured the wife of the capital governor, Lord Qin. His medical skills are brilliant, so he will definitely be able to cure you." Consort Xiang seemed to be weak. Su Yingxue recalled that in her previous life, Su Yuro was smooth and slick. She had stepped on her, the first daughter, while she had fawned over many high-ranking officials and nobles. Now that she saw how familiar she was with Consort Xiang, Su Yingxue could not help but admire her. She was quite capable. Coincidentally, she was quite capable after her rebirth. Su Yingxue told Eunuch Qin, "I will only treat people individually. Those who are not important shall leave." Her aura was strong, like a flower on a mountain peak, and her words made people not dare to disobey. After Eunuch Qin asked Consort Xiang for instructions, he brought Su Yuro out. Su Yuris' eyes were cold and merciless. "Let's see how long you can be arrogant." Chapter 32. Genius Dr. Su Yingxue lifted Consort Xiang's curtain and saw her lying on the chaise lounge. It had to be said that she had the capital to be doted on. Even if she was bedridden, she was still beautiful. The gilded long dress covered her delicate body, and it made people pity her. Consort Xiang's sapphire-like eyes stared at Su Yingxue. "I've been sick for many years. I've to trouble you, genius doctor." Su Yingxue hummed in acknowledgement and placed 2 fingers on her pulse. Just based on Consort Xiang's humble and docile attitude, she could not bear to see this beauty fall. This diagnosis of the pulse confirmed the guesses in her heart. She was indeed poisoned. "Genius doctor, how is it?" Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with hope. Although she had been sick for so many years, she still wanted to live well and for a long time. Su Yingxue only said 4 words indifferently. "It can be cured." "Really?" Consort Xiang's eyes shone brightly. Su Yingxue nodded. She performed acupuncture on her and drained half a bowl of blood. Then, she took out the antidote pill that she had prepared earlier and fed it to Consort Xiang. Consort Xiang lay down for a while and fell asleep. She felt dizzy when she slept, and she did not feel good. However, when she woke up, she was surrounded by pairs of eyes that were crying with joy. "Your Highness, you've been asleep for 8 hours. Xiang Ling, the personal palace maid, said excitedly. "What? I actually slept for so long?" Concubine Xiang found it unbelievable. When she spoke, she had recovered a lot of her strength. Xiang Ling's eyes were filled with tears. "The genius doctor's medical skills are indeed brilliant. Your Highness, you have never slept well and have never slept for more than 4 hours. Now that you have slept for 8 hours, I can see that your complexion has improved a lot." Consort Xiang hurriedly waved her hand. "Quick, bring me a mirror." Xiang Ling brought a mirror over. Consort Xiang looked at herself in the mirror. Although her face was still pale, her lips were slightly red. They were no longer gray from before. Consort Xiang was pleasantly surprised. Go and invite the genius doctor over. I want to thank the doctor personally. Your Highness, don't be anxious. The genius doctor is currently brewing medicine for you in the side hall. Su Yingxue brought the medicine to Consort Xiang. Xiang Ling wanted to take the medicine and feed Consort Xiang, but Su Yingxue stopped her. Let me do it. Xiang Ling was a little confused. Consort Xiang waved her hand and said, let the genius doctor do it. She and eunuch Qin could only retreat. Su Yingxue watched as Consort Xiang drank the medicine. Consort Xiang closed her eyes and rested for a while. Not only did she feel less uncomfortable, but she also had the strength to get out of bed and walk around. The last time I went to the Imperial Garden was the 2nd year since I came here. A trace of hot tears flowed out of Consort Xiang's eyes. She thanked Su Yingxue for treating her, and felt even more fortunate. Su Yingxue sized up Consort Xiang. Her exotic charm was a particularly beautiful color in the palace. That was why someone poisoned her and wanted to harm her. How should I address you, genius doctor? Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with joy, beautiful like a peerless gem. Looking into her eyes, Su Yingxue suddenly thought of Chu Yihan. That stinky prince's eyes were also very beautiful. It was a unique beauty. My surname is Chu, she answered casually. Genius Dr. Chu, you have cured me. How should I thank you? Consort Xiang put on her shoes and was about to get up. Su Yingxue spoke out to stop her. It's best if you don't act rashly. I haven't completely healed you, but I feel much better all over. Divine Dr. Chu, if you give me some more medicine, will I be able to recover? Chapter 33. The condition to cure Consort Xiang did not seem to have complicated thoughts. Your Highness, it is not difficult for you to recover, but the difficult part is to guarantee that you will not be harmed again, Su Yingxue said lightly. Not be harmed. Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with a hint of complexity. Her expression was very solemn, and then the corners of her mouth pulled up helplessly. This is indeed a difficult matter. Su Yingxue took a deep breath. It seemed like Consort Xiang knew what was going on. She knew that she would not fall ill for no reason. Moreover, the poison she was poisoned with had something to do with her mother. Your Highness, I can promise to cure you, and I can also guarantee your safety in the future. But you have to promise me one condition. Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with curiosity. What condition? I haven't thought of it yet. I'll tell you when I think of it. Su Yingxue drew up a prescription and handed it to Consort Xiang. Your Highness, give the prescription to the person who is the closest to you and can be trusted. From picking the medicine to boiling the medicine to bringing it to you, it can only be done by that person personally. This way, you can be guaranteed to recover from your illness. Consort Xiang nodded. Xiang Ling came with me to the palace, so there's no problem with handing it to her. But genius Dr. Chu, is there really nothing else you want? Even if you ask for a little reward from the emperor, I can agree to it. Su Yingxue shook her head. I'm not interested. She had no intention of fighting in the palace. She was curing Consort Xiang because she did not want to fall into the trap of others. She wanted Consort Xiang to make a promise so that she could investigate her mother's matter in the future. As for the rest, she didn't need to think too much about it and wouldn't cause trouble. Su Yingxue packed her things and walked out of the curtain with the medicine box. She saw that Su Yuro was still waiting outside. When Su Yuro learned that Consort Xiang could be saved, her heart was already in turmoil. Consort Xiang had been ill for so many years. So many years. How could she be cured? How is this possible? Miss Su, Consort Xiang can be saved this time. You recommended genius Dr. Chu, which is a great merit. However, when eunuch Qin came to tell Su Yuro this, Su Yuro still had to smile and respond, this is my duty. If Her Highness is healthy, I am happy for her too. Her heart was filled with jealousy and hatred, but she still had a glib tongue. She was very good at talking, and eunuch Qin also planned to ask for some rewards for her. However, Su Yingxue didn't intend to let Su Yuro take advantage of her. Eunuch, I was the one who cured Her Highness. What does it have to do with her? Eunuch Qin was stunned. It was Miss Su who recommended you. Logically speaking, It was normal for the recommended person to be rewarded. Why don't you let her treat Her Highness next time? I won't be coming. Su Yingshi's tone was indifferent. Don't. Miss Su doesn't know how to treat illnesses, so of course, you have to come. Genius Dr. Chu, don't be angry. I want to ask for Miss Su's reward. Noticing how hostile Su Yingxue was towards Su Yuro, Eunuch Qin hurriedly withdrew from the battle between the two of them. You're just a warlock. Why can't I be rewarded? Su Yuro stomped her feet in anger. If she received a reward, she could go back and show off for a long time. But this slut actually ruined her plans. If a warlock can cure Consort Xiang, can you? If you can, go ahead. Su Yingxue rolled her eyes. Su Yuro wanted to harm her. She cured the person, and Su Yuro even wanted a reward? Dream on. Genius Dr. Chu. Is there anything else? Consort Xiang's concerned voice rang out. Su Yingxue happened to have something she was still unclear about. So she said, Your Highness, may I know what kind of relationship Miss Su has with you? Consort Xiang's voice carried a trace of doubt. Miss Su? Which Miss Su? Su Yuro was shocked and quickly took out a handkerchief. Chapter 34. Blocked by the Empress, Su Yuro was shocked and quickly took out a handkerchief. Your Highness, last year during the spring banquet, you dropped your handkerchief, so I picked it up for you. You praised me for having a pure heart, and you gifted the handkerchief to me. I have always been thinking about Your Highness' health. When I heard that the genius doctor's medical skills were brilliant, I immediately recommended the genius doctor to Your Highness. Su Yuro recounted the entire story and even took credit for it in a roundabout way. She thought that Consort Xiang would reward her heavily, but she did not expect Consort Xiang to say, The spring banquet? I have never dropped a handkerchief. I only threw a handkerchief that I didn't like. Puff. Ha ha ha. So you just have a thick skin, trying to stick to Her Highness. The laughter of the palace maids and eunuchs came from the hall. Su Yuro suddenly felt embarrassed, as if her face was burning. Su Yingxue mocked softly. It seems like Miss Su is good at picking up things that others throw away. Even if it's picking up the handkerchief that Her Highness threw away, it's my honor. Su Yuro was humiliated, but she still wanted to please Consort Xiang. She knew that once Consort Xiang recovered, she would definitely be the most favored in the 6 palaces. Consort Xiang did not take this flattery to heart. She did not have much of an impression of Su Yuro and simply thought that she liked the handkerchief, so she waved her hand and said, Go and get some of my handkerchiefs and give them all to Miss Su. Su Yuro was stunned. Giving her handkerchiefs? That was it? She wasn't rewarded with gold, silver, or jewelry, and only gave her a bunch of worthless handkerchiefs? Su Yingxue saw that Su Yuro was in a daze and reminded her, Miss Su, why aren't you quickly accepting Her Highness' handkerchiefs? This is your greatest honor. The honor that she had mentioned was like a basin of boiling water, hurting her badly. Su Yuro had to endure it so that she wouldn't lose face in Consort Xiang's palace. After leaving Yunwei Palace, she stared at Su Yingxue's back with a vicious gaze. How dare you tease me? I won't forgive you. She immediately took a detour to the Empress Palace. When Su Yingxue walked to the palace gate, it was already dark. The palace gate was not locked yet, but it was already closed. The guard told her that she couldn't leave after the time to leave the palace. Su Yingxue frowned. Was he not letting her leave? Divine Dr. Chu, the Empress has invited you. A eunuch's sharp voice sounded from behind her, and Su Yingxue sensed that something was wrong. Just now, Su Yuro didn't come out with her, and now the Empress had sent someone to look for her. Su Yingxue thought to herself that she had underestimated Su Yuro's courage. The Empress Fengzhou Palace was luxurious and majestic. Every part of it revealed the extraordinary status of the Empress. In the main hall, Su Yuro sat in the VIP seat. She raised her chin at Su Yingxue and proudly demonstrated her strength. Su Yingxue slowly knelt down. Greetings, Empress. The Empress did not say anything, but she exuded an air of pressure that was not angry. There was a slight pressure in the air, indicating her displeasure. When Su Yingxue knelt until her legs were numb, the Empress spoke coldly. A commoner actually doesn't reveal his true appearance when meeting me. You are impudent. The word impudent carried deep anger. Su Yingxue nodded slightly. Although I am a commoner, there is no law in the Great Qing dynasty that states that one must reveal their true appearance when meeting the empress. Impudent. The empress had been pampered for many years, but no one had ever dared to contradict her like this. Su Yuro smiled and quickly knelt down to console her. Your Majesty, take care of your precious body. Don't be angry over this ungrateful martial arts warlock. Just now, she treated Consort Xiang and offended her in many aspects. She personally brewed medicine and fed her. Those who don't know better would think that she thinks that the people in the palace will harm Consort Xiang. Chapter 35. I want this person, Your Majesty. The people in the palace are all managed by you. Wouldn't her actions make people suspect you? Her words had kicked Su Yingxue to the gates of hell. The empress was already dissatisfied with her ability to cure Consort Xiang. Now that Su Yuro had provoked her, the empress wanted to kill this person even more. Summon my order. This person was disrespectful to me. Kill her immediately. The empress acted decisively without any hesitation. Wait. Su Yingxue raised her head and looked at the empress. If Your Majesty kills me, no one will be able to cure Consort Xiang. Humph. Are you the only one who knows medicine and is able to save people in our Great Qing dynasty? The empress did not take her words to heart at all. Even though Your Majesty thinks so, I wonder what the emperor will think when he hears your words. Su Yingxue's words were like a needle stabbing into the empress' heart. She remembered that in her previous life, the relationship between the emperor and the empress was not good. The empress family was strong and powerful. She also had 2 princes and had very high positions in the palace and court. Therefore, she wantonly harmed the emperor's favorite consort. The emperor had always been dissatisfied with her. Consort Xiang's poisoning was also related to her. If the emperor knew that it was her who delayed Consort Xiang's illness, then there would definitely be a huge dispute between the two of them. The empress was a woman who needed to rely on the emperor. If she offended the emperor too deeply, she would not have a good ending. Her sharp eyes stared at Su Yingxue. Are you threatening me? Your Majesty, you can imagine it yourself. The empress was furious. How dare you? Su Yingxue was still kneeling obediently, but the empress' killing intent toward her grew stronger. No matter what, I will take your life today. Su Yuro was secretly delighted, but she still maintained her goody two-shoes act and said softly and timidly, Your Majesty, please calm down. Don't hurt your body because of these lowly people. Su Yingxue calculated the time. The emperor should have gone to see Consort Xiang and knew that she was trapped in the empress palace. He would not let her, the only person who could cure Consort Xiang, die here. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the emperor to save you? The empress' smile carried a hint of viciousness. Let me tell you, even if the emperor came today, I still won't let you walk out alive. Men, take off her hat first and let me see who she is, then drag her down and beat her to death. Su Yingxue was surrounded by palace servants. Just as she was about to deal with them and stall for time, an even heavier pressure suddenly pressed down on her. This pressure scared off the people surrounding her, and she suddenly felt much more relaxed. I want this person. His cold and arrogant voice carried a hint of seductive charm. Su Yingxue looked sideways and saw Chu Yihan, who was dressed in a black python robe, walking over slowly. He was covered in moonlight, and his alluring face was shockingly beautiful. The corners of his mouth curled into an evil smile, which was evil and charming. Even though there was a layer of black veil between them, he could accurately meet her eyes and show her a teasing expression. Fuck. Su Yingxue recalled what this person had done to her and could not help but curse him secretly. Chu Yihan wasn't so serious when facing Su Yingxue, but when facing others, he was so serious that it was irresistible. The empress was still fuming. When she heard Chu Yihan's words, she became even angrier for no reason. No, this person offended me, and I will definitely punish her. Chapter 36. Chu Yihan, don't come over, she's my servant. I'm afraid Imperial sister-in-law can't punish her. Chu Yihan grabbed Su Yingxue's arm and lifted her up. Hiss! Su Yingxue's legs were numb from kneeling, and she was suddenly lifted up. She lost her balance and fell towards Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan's steel-like arms caught her firmly. Their intimate actions caught Su Yura's eyes, and it ignited 2 balls of fire in her eyes. Bitch! How dare you get close to the 9th prince? She was so jealous that her teeth were about to break. Chu Yihan was a man whom many young girls in Jiangdu City dreamed of marrying. Many women would die to see him. This transvestite was hugging Chu Yihan. How could Su Yuro tolerate this? She immediately wanted to expose her true colors to Chu Yihan. Your Highness, the Empress treated the genius doctor with courtesy. Not only was the genius doctor ungrateful, but she also rejected the Empress' good intentions and humiliated her. That's why Her Majesty became angry. I hope that Your Highness will understand and not be angry with Her Majesty. When the Empress heard this, her expression eased up a lot. 9th brother heard that? It's not that I'm deliberately making things difficult for her, but she is just a commoner relying on her medical knowledge and looking down on me and the palace rules. As the Empress, I have no choice but to kill her to correct the palace. Chu Yihan raised his eyebrows. Really? He lowered his head and looked at Su Yingxue. You look down on the Empress and the palace rules? Su Yingxue licked her lips. How was she going to explain? She had indeed done so, but she had done it to save her own life and was waiting for the Emperor to save her for Consort Xiang. Chu Yihan was still waiting for Su Yingxue to answer him. Su Yingxue was too lazy to explain to him, so she nodded. Chu Yihan raised his eyebrows. She was indeed different. Imperial sister-in-law, if there's nothing else, I will take her away first. Su Yingxue was speechless. Was His Highness going to look down on the palace rules and the Empress with her? There was a problem with what she did, but it didn't seem to be a problem for Chu Yihan to do so. The Empress shouted angrily, Stop, 9th brother, I won't allow it. Su Yuro also hurriedly advised, Your Highness, don't be angry with the Empress for a commoner. Chu Yihan didn't take Su Yuro seriously at all. He turned to look at the Empress and said, I'll take her away. He took Su Yingxue away and left the messy atmosphere behind in Fengzhou Palace. The Empress was so angry that she flipped the table. Su Yuro was even more stunned on the spot. She bit her lip, causing her pink lips to bleed. Why? What right does a lowly commoner have to gain the favor of the prince? But she couldn't. Su Yingxue was brought out of Fengzhou Palace. Seeing that she was walking slowly, Chu Yihan deliberately slowed down his long legs. Your legs hurt? Su Yingxue nodded. Yes, I've been kneeling for too long. I will carry you. Chu Yihan stopped and extended his arms to her. Su Yingxue retreated in horror. Your Highness, you must be joking. Letting him carry her in the palace? Su Yingxue moved quickly, not giving Chu Yihan a chance to tease her again. Chu Yihan looked at her panicking steps, and the corners of his mouth curled up into a dazzling arc. At the palace gate, Imochi stood guard in front of the carriage of the prince's mansion, watching his master and Su Yingxue come out one after the other. His master was like a spring breeze, but Su Yingxue was walking unsteadily as if her legs were weak. Imochi thought to himself, My master is brutal. He had already tormented Miss Su to this extent in the palace. Under Imochi's suspicious gaze, Chu Yihan threw Su Yingxue into the carriage. Chu Yihan, don't come over. Ah, it hurts. Chapter 37. I will protect you. Chu Yihan placed his hand on Su Yingxue's knee and raised his eyebrows. I didn't use any strength. She shouted too early. Su Yingxue was filled with anger. Your Highness, men and women shouldn't touch each other. Don't you know this common sense? When Chu Yihan heard this, he moved his hands gently and rubbed her knees. I know, but I won't do it. Su Yingxue was speechless. She was always speechless by this man's shamelessness. However, the gentle movements of his hands gradually made her feel less pain in her knees and her body relaxed. She had been in the palace for a whole day. Chu Yihan massaged her knees, and she leaned against the carriage to rest. She thought about the myriad of things in her mind. Consort Xiang had been poisoned by a poison developed by her mother, and the person who had poisoned her was afraid of her. The person who had poisoned her must be related to the Empress. Her mother's cause of death was unknown, and if she found out who had poisoned Consort Xiang, She could also find clues related to her mother. Trying to help Consort Xiang? Chu Yahan's deep and magnetic voice made Su Yingxue open her eyes. There was still a languid look in her eyes that had yet to dissipate. She was like a loving cat, very gentle and obedient. Chu Yahan's heart skipped a beat, and he subconsciously wanted to get closer to her. Su Yingxue quickly avoided him. After keeping a distance from him, she sat up straight and answered her question. I just want to cure her. Heh. Chu Yihan sneered. His deep and sharp eyes seemed to have seen through her thoughts. You don't believe me? Do you think I will do something to you? Su Yingxue also imitated him and snorted. Why should I trust your highness? Is there anything I can trust in your conduct? What have I done that is not worthy of your trust? I didn't help you when I sent the ginseng to the Marquis Manor. When I invited you into my manor to treat my illness, didn't that make you famous? I saved you today, but didn't I leave you safe and sound? Chu Yihan was upright, and there was a hint of grievance in his tone. It was as if Su Yingxue had let him down. Su Yingxue originally felt that she had been taken advantage of by him and hated him righteously, but now, why did she feel that she was in the wrong? It seemed like what Chu Yihan said was true. He had been helping her all along? Cough, cough. Su Yingxue turned around and faced Chu Yihan. She lowered her head and thanked him seriously. Thank you for your help, Your Highness. I am extremely grateful. However, treating Consort Xiang today is just like what Your Highness said. It's troubled waters, so it's better not to implicate you. I'm fearless. Chu Yihan's handsome face had a casual expression. Su Yingxue felt her heart heat up. This man was noble and domineering. She originally had no power to resist in front of him. However, everything he did made her want to trust him and tell him what she wanted to do. I want to find the murderer who poisoned Consort Xiang because the poison that Consort Xiang was poisoned with is related to my mother. She blurted out the words out of nowhere. Chu Yihan's eyebrows twitched slightly. All right, do it without worry. They'll protect you. Su Yingxue was stunned. Your Highness, with me here, you still don't feel at ease? Chu Yihan raised his eyebrows. Was he not strong enough for her to feel? No. Su Yingxue shook her head. He had dared to take her away from Fengzhou Palace and anger the Empress. His strength was so strong that it made people admire him. Since he dared to do this, he must not be afraid of the consequences. But why did he help her? Chapter 38. Snatching the letter. Chu Yihan's ability to read people's minds was especially effective against Su Yingxue. He patted Su Yingxue's head. Don't worry and do it. With me around, no one will dare to touch you. Su Yingxue's face turned red. She quickly put on her hood again and said uncomfortably, Thank you, Your Highness. I will remember your thanks and will ask for a gift from you. Chu Yihan was very pleased with himself. He sent Su Yingxue to the medical center. He knew that it was not convenient for her to return to the Marquis Manor like this. After she got out of the carriage, he immediately left. Su Yingxue stood at the entrance of the medical center and was stunned for a while. The temperature in her chest kept rising, and her face was flushed red. Chu Yihan's words were still lingering in her mind. I don't like the people that you dislike too. So, did he like her? Impossible. Su Yingxue shook her head and quickly threw this thought away. It was a little scary. Miss, you're finally back. Are you okay? Manager Qi was still waiting in the center. When he saw Su Yingxue's flushed face, he quickly showed concern. Su Yingxue shook her head. I'm fine. We'll go change first. She went upstairs. She originally wanted to change her clothes and return to the Marquis Manor to rest, but after going through the matters in the palace again, she decided to go through her mother's handwritten letter again. The medical books and classics left behind by her mother were all stored in a small courtyard behind the medical center. No matter how meager the income of the medical center was over the years, Manager Qi had kept this place well protected and tidied up. Su Yingxue took out a small box from a hidden corner and unlocked it. She took out the handwritten letter inside. It was already somewhat rolled up, but what was recorded inside was all her mother's hard work. Su Yingxue flipped to the page that wrote Drunken Beauty and saw that among the herbs needed to make the Drunken Beauty, there was a rare poison called Shijiao. Just as she was engrossed in reading, little Ginseng suddenly shouted, quickly dodge. Su Yingxue dodged as fast as lightning, but a strand of her hair was still cut off. A thin, sharp sword was pointed at her again. It stopped just an inch away from the tip of her nose, and the blade split open a door behind her. Boom! There was a loud bang. Under the dim light, Su Yingxue saw a pair of eyes that were different from ordinary people. They were like a ferocious beast that had swallowed the entire night sky. There was a dark purple at the end of his eyes, and killing intent suddenly appeared. They were deep and dark. Su Yingxue had an accurate feeling that anyone he looked at would definitely die, dying under his lightning-fast sword. However, he did not kill her. Su Yingxue suppressed the fear in her heart and tried her best to remain calm as she asked, "Who are you? What do you want?" The man's voice was naturally hoarse. "Silver Moon Pavilion wants the thing in your hand." Silver Moon Pavilion? A hint of surprise flashed across Su Yingxue's eyes. She followed the man to a palace. She didn't remember the way because she was blindfolded. The interior of the hall was cold and oppressive. The colors were dark, and most of the decorations were red. In front of Su Yingxue, there were layers of red gauze curtains. Through these curtains, she saw the outline of a woman. She had a graceful figure as she sat on the throne. A large red lotus was embroidered at the end of her black gauze dress. She treated Su Yingxue politely and said gently, "I'm sorry, Miss Su. I invited you to the Silver Moon Pavilion so late at night. It's because the assassin we sent this time was insensible." After saying that, she moved her finger. The man who brought Su Yingxue here, who was also standing behind her, was whipped ruthlessly. Chapter 39. Silver Moon Pavilion's #1 assassin. Su Yingxue turned around to take a look. The man's skin was torn open, and there was a deep bloody scar on his back. His flesh had been stirred up. However, he stood steadily and hugged his sword without making a sound. What a ruthless master! What a ruthless killer! Su Yingxue couldn't help but think of her previous life. Before she died, the Silver Moon Pavilion had become so powerful that even the 4 kingdoms and 9 provinces were deeply afraid of it. No one knew who founded the Silver Moon Pavilion and where its foundation was. However, the Silver Moon Pavilion was involved in all kinds of businesses in the world, including intelligence, military weapons, and everything else. They were omniscient and omnipotent. The 4 kingdoms and 9 states had once sent troops to destroy the Silver Moon Pavilion, but both sides suffered heavy losses. In the end, both sides made concessions. The 4 kingdoms and 9 states coexisted with the Silver Moon Pavilion, and the Silver Moon Pavilion did not oppose the imperial court. Now, she was brought to the Silver Moon Pavilion. The Silver Moon Pavilion wanted her mother's handwritten letter. It would be difficult for her to escape with the letter. Su Yingxue sized up the woman behind the curtain. "How are you going to get my mother's letter? What are you going to do with it?" Hong Lian chuckled. "The Silver Moon Pavilion is a place where we do business properly. We won't take anything by force. If we want Miss Su's letter, we naturally have to pay the same price. As for its use, this is not within the scope of our transaction, so it is inconvenient to let you know." Su Yingxue narrowed her eyes slightly. The rules in Silver Moon Pavilion are indeed strict. Hong Lian's red lips curled up slightly. Of course. For example, the #1 assassin of the Silver Moon Pavilion. He already has an extraordinary status in the Silver Moon Pavilion. However, if he doesn't do his job properly, he will still be punished. Su Yingxue turned back to look at the man. When he attacked, he was as fast as lightning. At other times, he stood at the side like an invisible person. Even his breathing could not be heard. However, Su Yingxue could imagine that if he wanted to kill her, she would not be able to struggle for more than 3 seconds. Therefore, she turned her attention back to the deal with Hong Lian. "You should know that I have a medical center and a grain and oil store. I earn a lot of money every day, so I won't be short of money for the time being. Miss Su, what if I give wealth that even the Marquis Manor cannot compare to? Would you be willing to consider it?" Hong Lian asked with a smile. Su Yingxue also curled her lips. She held the letter and smiled faintly. "I didn't expect my mother's letter to be worth more than a Marquis Manor. But do you have any other way of trading? It's a pity to exchange money for such a precious letter from my mother." "Ha ha, Miss Su, you're really smart. Hong Lian clearly did not expect Su Yingxue to have such a huge change. In her intelligence records, Su Yingxue had suddenly turned from an idiot to intelligent, bold, and decisive. However, her current appearance, as well as her calm and quiet demeanor in the Silver Moon Pavilion, was not something a 16-year-old girl should have. Su Yingxue didn't waste any time talking to her. Just tell me, are you going to exchange or not? It seems that Miss Su has taken a fancy to something. What do you want to exchange with the Silver Moon Pavilion? Intelligence, medicinal herbs, the position of imperial concubine, or your sister's life? Su Yingxue shook her head. None of these. She turned around and pointed her slender fingers at the man whose breathing was undetectable. I want him. The man looked up at her and immediately returned to his invisible state. Hong Lian chuckled. Miss Su, you have sharp eyes. He is indeed one of the top 10 most valuable trading items in our Silver Moon Pavilion. Chapter 40. Cheated an assassin. Since it's a trade item, then it can be traded. The Silver Moon Pavilion should also abide by the rules. As long as you give him to me, I will trade my mother's letter with you. Su Yingxue's eyes were fixed on the man. She couldn't attract the man's attention at all, but she could smell something unusual from the man's blood. Little Ginseng reminded her, this person won't live long. You'll lose out if you exchange with her. Su Yingxue curled her lips. Can I just cure him? Little Ginseng was very doubtful. Can you do it? If I can't do it, you can. Little Ginseng was speechless. This damn teammate. Hong Lian couldn't bear to trade with Su Yingxue, but when she thought about the identity of the buyer of this letter from the Silver Moon Pavilion, she sighed. Sigh, all right. From now on, this person belongs to Miss Su. What's his name? Su Yingxue asked. Hong Lian replied, since he is no longer a member of the Silver Moon Pavilion, he cannot use the Silver Moon Pavilion's name. He is Miss Su's person. You can call him whatever you want to call him. Su Yingxue walked closer to him and held his hand. She asked curiously, what do you want to be called? The man didn't move and spat out like a block of wood. Nothing. Su Yingxue had already felt his pulse. His martial arts were strong, but he was poisoned and would not live long. She took out a pill and stuffed it into his mouth. You shall be called Ziwei from now on. Your eyes are very beautiful. After Su Yingxue said that, the man reacted. The gloominess in his eyes seemed to have fallen into a ray of light. Ziwei, you don't like it? Ziwei shook his head. No. Su Yingxue fed him the medicine, but he didn't ask and just ate it obediently. Su Yingxue poked him. Aren't you afraid that it's poison? Master, my life is yours. Ziwei's words were concise and comprehensive. He did not say a word, but his gaze made Su Yingxue even more certain that he would definitely use his life to be loyal to her. Ziwei, since you call me master, you must listen to me no matter what I say. Whatever I order you to do, you have to do it. Su Yingxue patted his shoulder solemnly. Ziwei opened his eyes, and the purple color at the end of his eyes was filled with bloodlust. I will obey master's orders. Seeing them dawdling, Hong Lian could not help but remind them, Miss Su, I've given him to you. It's time to give me the letter. Yes, here you go. Su Yingxue handed the letter to Hong Lian's men and asked them to present it to Hong Lian. Hong Lian received the letter. After confirming that it was the real thing, she smiled in satisfaction. Miss Su, it's been a pleasure working with you. Su Yingxue's smile had a hint of gloominess. Ziwei, help me snatch the letter back and take me away from here. Ziwei replied, yes, master. He did not hesitate at all. He moved as fast as lightning and snatched the letter from Hong Lian's hand. He quickly returned to Su Yingxue's side and hugged her waist, bringing her out of the Silver Moon Pavilion. Hong Lian reacted and gritted her teeth in anger. Su Yingxue, how dare you trick the Silver Moon Pavilion? She took her assassin and even snatched the letter. Ziwei brought Su Yingxue back to the Marquis Manor. Su Yingxue patted his shoulder and encouraged him. Beautifully done, Ziwei. Ziwei ignored her praise. I will obey master's orders. Are you like this in the Silver Moon Pavilion? Su Yingxue touched her chin and pondered. Ziwei nodded. Yes. All right, then you'll be responsible for protecting me in the future. There was a slight change in Ziwei's eyes. He had never seen anyone who dared to go against the Silver Moon Pavilion alone. Chapter 41. Cure him. Protect her for a long time, especially today. She played a cruel trick on the Silver Moon Pavilion. Wasn't she afraid? Don't look at me like that. Of course, I'm afraid of the Silver Moon Pavilion. But didn't I bring you here? Now you belong to me. According to the rules of the Silver Moon Pavilion, you're mine forever. Su Yingxue blinked her beautiful eyes. Zi Wei's face remained expressionless. Since you're mine, I must cure you. Rest in your room for 2 hours, and I'll prepare the medicine for you. Su Yingxue replied crisply. Why do I need medicine? Zi Wei was confused. You're severely poisoned and don't have much time left. I want to cure you. Su Yingxue answered clearly. No need to make an effort. A trace of darkness crossed Zi Wei's eyes. Death is easier than living. No, you belong to me, and you have great use for me. I can't let you die too soon. Behave, go rest over there, and I'll call you when the medicine is ready. Su Yingxue patted his shoulder and then turned around, disappearing behind the screen. Zi Wei couldn't see her anymore, but his hearing was excellent. He could hear her rummaging and preparing the medicine, stirring a strange feeling within him. Su Yingxue came out with the medicine. Zi Wei had been sitting by the table, but the moment he heard her faint footsteps, he opened his eyes, and a murderous intent filled the air. Su Yingxue handed him the medicine. Drinking it will alleviate your pain. Zi Wei took the medicine and drank it all in one go without any hesitation or doubt. Su Yingxue couldn't help but laugh. Aren't you afraid that I might have given you poison medicine? I'm not afraid. Is that all you can say?
Yes.
Su Yingxue sighed inwardly. Just as she expected, he wouldn't say more than a word. Before going to sleep, she instructed, you can rest in my courtyard for the next few days. You can choose any room you like. Zi Wei didn't nod. With him guarding her, Su Yingxue could sleep peacefully, even if she was worried about the Silver Moon Pavilion's retaliation. After all, this person's martial arts were truly unmatched. In the future, if he wasn't taken away by her, he would be sent to kill the Emperor of Dongzhou and bring back his head. Although Su Yingxue didn't know who had given the order, her memories from her previous life were enough to let her know that this person could protect her. With Zi Wei's protection, the Silver Moon Pavilion had sent 3 groups of assassins, all of whom failed and returned empty-handed. Hong Lian was trembling with anger at the Silver Moon Pavilion. She even harbored thoughts of killing Su Yingxue herself. However, she suddenly received an invitation from Chu Yihan. The 9th Prince's mansion, Chu Yihan's table, which was previously covered with memorials and military books, now held a few miscellaneous books. Although they were called miscellaneous books, Chu Yihan still read them earnestly. Emochi stood by Chu Yihan's side and occasionally glanced at him. When he noticed Chu Yihan's confusion, Emochi said, Master, please put that aside for now. Hong Lian will arrive soon. You can ask her. Chu Yihan furrowed his brows impatiently. Go and fetch her. Emochi sighed and quickly made his way to the Silver Moon Pavilion. Fortunately, he encountered Hong Lian on the way. Hong Lian's brows were tightly furrowed. Your Highness summoned me. What urgent matter requires my presence? Emochi noticed her anxiety and playfully teased her. Of course, it's a matter of great importance. Otherwise, would your Highness be so anxious to find you? Hong Lian became even more nervous upon hearing this. She hurriedly arrived at the prince's mansion and entered Chu Yihan's study. She respectfully cupped her hands, a hint of urgency in her gesture. Your Highness, I apologize for the delay because I have something to handle at the Silver Moon Pavilion. I hope you won't be displeased. Chu Yihan was reading something he didn't understand. He handed the book to Hong Lian and said, I don't understand what this book is about. Please explain it to me. Chapter 42. Who is Chu Yihan going to marry? Hong Lian thought it was some kind of extraordinary puzzle, but when she looked at it, the contents of the book surprised her. She flipped through the cover, and it boldly read, 100 Ways to Coax Women. Your Highness, Hong Lian felt shocked and disbelieving, almost thinking she hadn't woken up properly. On page 42, it says that when a woman has her monthly cycle, You shouldn't get close to her or argue with her. Instead, you must be gentle and soothe her. Why is that? Chu Yahan's well-defined hand rhythmically tapped on the table, and his eyes showed a genuine thirst for knowledge. Hong Lian's emotions were complex. She turned to look at Imo-Chi, who also wore a puzzled expression. Yeah, why can't you argue and coax a woman during her monthly cycle? What's the monthly cycle? Does it come every month? Hong Lian was speechless. She wanted to smack Imo-Chi's head. Your Highness, please forgive Hong Lian's ignorance. Why are you suddenly reading these books? You're not yet married, so it seems unnecessary for you to go through them. Hong Lian's heart trembled, concealing her deep respect and admiration. But the pain was hard to conceal. She knew that the woman who made Chu Yihan read these books was not her. But who was she exactly? Intending to marry a princess, and Imo-Chi found these books, saying they should be read before marriage. Chu Yihan furrowed his brow. He was a genius widely praised throughout the Great Qing dynasty, and he had never encountered a problem he couldn't solve. However, he truly didn't understand some of the content in these books, nor did he know how to put them into practice. For example, the part about not getting close to her just now. Whenever he was with Suing Xue, he couldn't help but want to be close to her. If he married her in the future, not being able to get close to her for several days was something he couldn't bear. Who does your Highness intend to marry? What woman has caught your Highness' eye? Hong Lian felt as if her heart had been struck heavily, forgetting about the difference in their status and revealing her inner pain. Hong Lian, this isn't something you should ask. Imo-Chi quickly pulled her back and discreetly reminded her. The air suddenly became heavy and stifling. Hong Lian lowered her head and apologized. Your Highness, I have overstepped my bounds. Please forgive me, Your Highness. Chu Yihan grunted in acknowledgement, his voice clearly showing displeasure. He asked her to bring the book over. Do you know why? Hong Lian forced a bitter smile, every word carrying a tinge of bitterness. The monthly cycle refers to a woman's menstrual cycle, which occurs for 3 to 7 days each month. During this time, a woman's body is weakened, and she becomes irritable and easily angered. That's why you shouldn't get close to her and need to be patient and understanding in your interactions. When she has her menstrual cycle, what can I do for her? Chu Yihan's eyes, filled with seriousness, felt like another stab in Hong Lian's heart. Hong Lian clenched her lips and looked down. Keep her warm, prevent her from being exposed to cold, and provide warmth to her abdomen to alleviate the pain. Does it cause her a lot of pain? Chu Yihan suddenly stood up, radiating a menacing aura. Observing the seriousness in his eyes, Hong Lian knew just how much he cared about that woman. But he was Chu Yihan, God's favored one, the noblest ninth prince in the entire world. What kind of woman could captivate him to such an extent, stirring his soul and filling his dreams? Hong Lian remained silent for a while, and Imo-Chi nudged her with his elbow. Your Highness is asking you a question. What's wrong with you today? Did you become foolish at the Silver Moon Pavilion? Suppressing the pain in her heart, Hong Lian nodded. Yes, it causes a lot of pain. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 43. Purple Tail's character Chu Yihan tightened his grip on the book. He felt uneasy at the thought of her enduring such intense pain for a few days every month while he could do so little for her. Hong Lian walked out of Chu Yihan's study room in a daze. Imo-Chi kindly accompanied her, saying, Hey, what's wrong with you? Are you tired from working at the Silver Moon Pavilion? Hong Lian shook her head. Not tired. Do you know who the woman your Highness is interested in? Imo-Chi chuckled. You know your Highness' temperament. How could I possibly tell you about that? Why can't you tell me? Tell me. Hong Lian grabbed Imo-Chi's collar, her emotions rising. Her enchanting eyes turned slightly red, making her even more alluring. At least in Imo-Chi's eyes, she was beautiful. However, as Chu Yihan's trusted confidant, he looked helplessly at Hong Lian. You also serve a master. Would you dare to tell me about your master? After hearing this, Hong Lian took a deep breath and let go of Imo-Chi. Her voice carried a thick sense of disappointment. One overstepped my bounds. As Imo-Chi looked at the blooming lotus flower on her red dress, A trace of regret appeared on his face. You overstepped your bounds, and so did one. From the moment he laid eyes on this woman, he had overstepped his bounds. Su Yingxue had been nursing Ziwei in the Marquis manor for a few days, and his complexion had improved significantly since their first meeting. One could tell that despite his cold and expressionless face, there were remarkable features. If he were dressed up and placed among the young masters of wealthy families, he would stand out. Jilan thought he was handsome. Su Yingxue instructed her to bring the medicine to Ziwei. With a cheerful smile, she approached him. Ziwei, the medicine Miss asked me to bring. Drink it while it's still hot. Ziwei held his sword, his face cold, and treated her as if she were invisible, completely ignoring her. Jilan pouted with sadness and said, Miss asked me to bring this to you. Miss said you were poisoned and must be detoxified. She moved forward again, almost reaching Ziwei's presence when suddenly a gust of wind flashed by. Jilan screamed. Su Yingxue pulled her back just in time, saving her from being killed by Ziwei's sword. Jilan, still shaken by the scare, glared at Ziwei. How could you be like this? Miss kindly brewed the medicine for you. One kindly brought it to you, and you still want to kill me. Look, the medicine has spilled. Jilan gazed at the broken bowl, feeling sorry not only for the spilled medicine but also for Su Yingxue's efforts. Ziwei remained expressionless, his eyes icy. You're not her. I am not Miss, but a Miss Maid. Why would I harm you? Jilan felt that she wasn't trusted and stomped her foot in sadness. Yes, Ziwei coldly deepened her distress without any mercy. Jilan puffed up her little face, her eyes filled with grievances. Su Yingxue gently rubbed her face and comforted her. That's just his personality. We still have more medicine. Pour another bowl. Yes, Mississippi. As soon as Su Yingxue gave the order, Jilan immediately went to get another bowl of medicine. However, she didn't dare to get close to Ziwei anymore. After handing the medicine to Su Yingxue, she quickly left. In the room, there were only Su Yingxue and Ziwei. Su Yingxue placed the medicine in his hand. Drink it. Ziwei downed the whole bowl, leaving no trace behind. It was completely different from when Jilan had brought him the medicine. He showed no sign of guarding against Su Yingxue. Su Yingxue found it amusing. You're afraid that Jilan will harm you, but you're not afraid that it'll harm you. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 44. Chu Chengya acting on the edict, it doesn't matter. Ziwei's eyes were gloomy, and his cold, emotionless statement made Su Yingxue sense a hint of desolation. I remember you said that it doesn't matter if it's the master wants to take your life. Ziwei nodded. So you were poisoned because of the Silver Moon Pavilion's control over you? She asked. No. After completing the task, seeking revenge, the Silver Moon Pavilion didn't help you detoxify the poison inflicted on you? Su Yingxue remembered that Hong Lian had mentioned that Ziwei was one of the top 10 valuable individuals in the Silver Moon Pavilion. Object. Unnecessary. Ziwei's tone remained icy, without the slightest change. Su Yingxue's expression briefly showed a tinge of sadness upon hearing his words. In her previous life, wasn't she also treated as an object? In the eyes of the people she cared about, she only had utility value. Once that value was exhausted, she would be disposed of. Ziwei was no different. To the Silver Moon Pavilion, he was merely an object, a sharp weapon. They didn't care whether he was poisoned or when he died. What mattered to them was how much he could accomplish for the Silver Moon Pavilion and how many lives he could take. He had never lived for himself. Su Yingxue's eyes momentarily dimmed, then suddenly became bright, like a beam of strong light emerging from the abyss. She said, As long as you protect me well, one will also protect you. I will detoxify you and let you live a normal life. Having experienced death once, it had made her much more open-minded. All living beings were equal, each living their own lives. However, Ziwei seemed indifferent and replied coldly, Not necessary. Su Yingxue sighed, placing her hand on her forehead. What would happen if you said just one more word? Can't they communicate properly? Su Yingxue thought. No, Ziwei replied. Su Yingxue felt exasperated. Indeed, one more word. Well, forget it. She would change her long-term goal into a short-term one, focusing on keeping him alive for now. With Ziwei protecting her on behalf of the Silver Moon Pavilion, Su Yingxue wasn't too concerned. However, since she had promised to cure Consort Xiang, she anticipated a constant stream of troubles within the palace. This morning, she had been contemplating countermeasures when someone came knocking on her door. Clad in a moon-white brocade robe with delicate golden patterns, outlining the aura of a prince, Chu Qingye instantly became the center of attention upon his arrival. Inside the medical clinic, several married women blushed and turned their faces away. 2 rows of guards stood behind Chu Qingye, carrying a box. He looked ahead arrogantly. Where is the boss? Come out immediately. Manager Qi glanced at Su Yingxue, who was busy tending to the medicine cabinet, and approached Chu Qingye politely. May I ask, is this young master here for a consultation or to purchase medicine? I am the 7th prince of the current dynasty. Summon your boss to meet me, Chu Qingye declared. Chu Qingye possessed a captivating appearance, and since childhood, countless individuals had sought to please him. He exuded a sense of superiority, expecting to be revered wherever he went. Yet, he was oblivious to the fact that he had stepped into Su Yingxue's domain. Manager Qi chuckled. Young master, our boss doesn't readily meet with people. If there's nothing urgent, how dare you defy your highness? You seek death. Chu Qingye's chief guard unsheathed his sword, attempting to intimidate Manager Qi. However, his blade was promptly pushed back by a powerful force. Su Yingxue even gave him 2 slaps. The guard was caught off guard and was about to retaliate when Chu Qingye glared at him. Stand down. He looked at Su Yingxue unhappily. What are you doing here? I advise you to mind your own business. A few days ago, she had embarrassed him in front of the 9th imperial uncle. He had yet to settle that score with her. She had better not provoke his anger today. Su Yingxue smiled and said, 7th prince, did you come to advise me to mind my own business? Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 45. Su Yingxue, don't give me too much. Are you the owner of this clinic? Chu Qingye's eyes held both shock and disbelief. Seeing Manager Qi's respectful attitude towards Su Yingxue, he had no choice but to believe that Su Yingxue was the one who owned this clinic. Su Yingxue tidied up the stray hair on her forehead. Didn't my sister tell you about our extraordinary relationship? Why didn't she inform you? Su Yingxue, don't take advantage of me. Come here. Chu Qingye forcefully dragged Su Yingxue to the back hall. He frowned, and his eyes were filled with disgust and inquiry. Where did you gather the money to open a clinic? And that genius doctor, where did you find him? What does it have to do with you, your highness? Su Yingxue looked down at her hand. How does it not concern me? Su Yingxue, you are engaged to me, and your blatant appearance in public like this is simply ruining my reputation. Call the genius doctor in your clinic immediately. I want to take her away. Chu Qingye felt indignant. It turned out that Su Yingxue, who had been pursuing him, was capable. It had only been a few days since he treated her coldly, and she had managed to establish such a large clinic and hire such a skilled doctor. She was deliberately deceiving him. Your Highness, if you haven't fully woken up yet, go back and get some more sleep. I'm busy here and don't have time for you. Su Yingxue sneered and shook off Chu Qingye's hand, ready to leave. Su Yingxue, don't blame me for not giving you face. Chu Qingye raised his chin and ordered his men to open the box. Inside, entire box was filled with glittering, golden light that dazzled many people's eyes. This is enough to buy 10 of your clinics. One want your clinics and your people. Chu Qingye declared arrogantly. So much gold. Su Yingxue's eyes showed a hint of disbelief. Chu Qingye, seeing her reaction, snorted coldly, and his disdain for Su Yingxue deepened. Su Yingxue clicked her tongue and sighed. Your Highness, this amount of gold is too little for my clinic. She waved her hand. Manager Qi, throw it out. Yes, miss. Manager Qi called over a few assistants and carried the box out. Following Su Yingxue's instructions, they threw the box out. As a result, when Chu Qingye's chest of gold spilled out onto the street, it caused a commotion, and people started scrambling for it. Are you all useless? Hurry up and go after them. Chu Chengye angrily commanded his subordinates. He turned around and glared at Su Yingxue. How dare you go against me? Su Yingxue nonchalantly popped a meatball into her mouth, wearing an innocent expression. It's not the first rhyme. Why are you so surprised, Your Highness? Pucci. Manager Chi couldn't help but burst into laughter. Even Wu Jinyan covered half of her face, chuckling softly. Su Yingxue, what do you want to hand over that genius doctor? Chu Chengye's fair complexion turned red with anger. Su Yingxue looked at him playfully. Even the anger she caused him was bearable for him. It seemed that the Empress had given him a task to find someone here, but due to her connection with Liang Jin, he didn't dare to act rashly, so he resorted to using gold. However, that box of gold was truly insufficient. The price one want, Your Highness can't afford. Your Highness, the door is over there. Take your time leaving, Su Yingxue said with a polite smile. Stubborn. Chu Chengye shouted coldly and stormed out. He hadn't completed the task given by his mother, but he couldn't resort to violence in the clinic. Su Yingxue's attitude had ignited an unprecedented anger within him. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 46. Grandpa asked her to save Su Yuro. When did the woman who always acted subservient to him and only had eyes for him no longer have room for him in her shining eyes? Chu Chengye stood outside the door for a moment, watching Su Yingxue in her vibrant red dress, looking sleek and confident. Her stunning face could captivate anyone. When had she started to overlook his existence, causing him to feel anxious? Su Yingxue stood by the medicine cabinet, observing Wu Jinyan. She noticed that she was not only attentive and intelligent, but also extremely sensitive to the scent of medicine, with a keen ability to identify different herbs and fragrances, particularly those favored by women. Wu Jinyan continued working, flashing Su Yingxue a smile. Do you find me more interesting than the seventh prince? Su Yingxue raised an eyebrow. Naturally. It's far more interesting for me to look at my future sister-in-law than at someone unrelated. This comment made Wu Jinyan blush, and she playfully scolded Su Yingxue. Seventh prince no longer interests you? Su Yingxue nodded in agreement. Wu Jinyan chuckled. Then who is interesting? Chui Han. That answer immediately came to Su Yingxue's mind. She didn't voice it aloud, but Wu Jinyan could still sense something from her eyes. He smiled with hidden meaning and didn't press further. Su Yingxue rubbed her temple, her thoughts drifting to Chui Han once again. In recent days, he had unknowingly occupied her mind. He promised to protect her, and he said that if she disliked someone, he would dislike them too. Thinking about it made her heart itch as if something was stirring inside. When Su Yingxue sent Chu Chengye away during the day, she already knew that she wouldn't find peace once she returned home. However, when she saw Su Dingheng blocking her courtyard's entrance, she took the initiative to speak. Father, if you want to meddle in the affairs of my clinic or the genius doctor, I suggest you keep your opinions to yourself and go rest early. After all, he had recently coughed up blood because of her. If it happened again, it would waste her medicine. Several strands of white hair adorned Su Dingheng's head, and his complexion was not in good shape. Even his reproachful tone was much weaker. You still dare to say that? If it weren't for that genius doctor in your clinic, Ruer wouldn't be trapped in the palace right now. A flicker of surprise crossed Su Yingxue's eyes. Really? Su Dingheng nodded with bitterness. It has been several days, and I haven't seen her even when I went to the palace. I have no news about her. If it weren't for that genius doctor entering the palace to find her, Ruer's return would be uncertain. Oh, Su Yingxue replied indifferently, pinching the space between her eyebrows. Father, I'm tired. I will rest first. Su Yingxue, do you have no conscience? She is your biological sister. How can you watch her suffer in the palace without knowing her fate and not save her? Su Dingheng's eyes turned red as he scolded her as if Su Yingxue had committed an unforgivable offense. Su Yingxue wanted to innocently tell him that Su Yuro had brought this upon herself. However, considering her father's mindset, which had deviated from the great Qing dynasty, she spoke solemnly. Su Yuro deserved it. She tried to use the Empress to eliminate those close to me. If I haven't lost my mind, I would never trade my reputation for her release. Father, wash up and get some rest. Stop, you unfilial daughter. My words may no longer affect you, but don't you even listen to your grandfather? Su Dingheng suppressed his anger and handed Su Yingxue a handwritten letter. It's a letter from your grandfather. Handle it as you see fit. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 47. Chu Yihan. A liar. Su Dingheng left in anger. Su Yingxue opened the letter and found that it was indeed written by her grandfather. He had heard about Su Yuro and instructed her to send the genius doctor to rescue her. Although her grandfather was stationed at the border, Su Yingxue always followed his words and would fulfill his instructions. That night, Su Yingxue had a dream. She saw her grandfather, with his sturdy figure, falling amidst a battlefield, and she was powerless to help him, unable to even extend a hand. Phew! Su Yingxue abruptly sat up, her palms sweaty and dampening the bedding. Opposite her, Ziwei, who had been sleeping the entire night, opened his eyes. He had slept while sitting across from Su Yingxue, and Su Yingxue could see him as soon as she opened her eyes. Ziwei remained silent, but there was a hint of a dark and bloodthirsty glint in his purple-tailed eyes. Nevertheless, Su Yingxue strangely felt at ease. It was just a dream. Her grandfather was fine for now. She had to follow his orders and rescue Su Yuro as he instructed. However, entering the palace required caution. Su Yingxue had sent Jilan ahead to the 9th prince's mansion to relay a message and see if she could meet Chu Yihan. Jilan had gone fearfully but returned joyfully. She hopped near Su Yingxue's ear, her eyes shining with excitement. Your Highness said that the genius doctor should go to him tomorrow, and he will personally bring her into the palace. Your Highness reassures you not to worry. He will take care of the genius doctor as a favor to you, Mississippi. Su Yingxue's heart skipped a beat, and a blush appeared on her fair face. Did he say that? Yes, yes. Miss, your Highness is truly good to you. One never expected to enter the prince's mansion so easily in this lifetime and meet your Highness. It's all because your Highness cares about you. Xylan's eyes sparkled with excitement. Cough, the genius doctor, and your Highness have a purely professional relationship as a doctor and patient. I have no connection to your Highness, Su Yingxue said seriously, staring at Jilan. Jilan quickly composed herself and nodded. Yes, Mississippi one spoke out of turn, but she couldn't help but sense that Miss was exceptionally happy today. Was her thinking lacking? The next day, Su Yingxue changed into casual attire and donned a black veil hat before heading to the 9th prince's mansion. She didn't know why she listened so much to Chu Yihan, but she felt especially at ease when she was near him. Indeed, even if she broke into the palace alone, with Ziwei by her side, she had no fear of not being able to leave. She smoothly entered the prince's mansion, but in Chu Yihan's courtyard, she encountered Hong Lian. Hong Lian was enchanting and alluring, exuding a captivating charm. Her eyes flickered seductively as she spoke. Who are you? What business do you have with your Highness? Her tone resembled that of a mistress, causing a heavy feeling in Su Yingxue's heart. Su Yingxue maintained a calm voice. It's none of your concern. I'm here to see your Highness. Your Highness? Hong Lian was perceptive and sensed that this woman showed no fear or hesitation toward Chu Yihan. She remained composed. However, apart from her, who was able to freely enter and leave the prince's mansion? Could it be that she was Chu Yihan's beloved? Hong Lian quickly changed her attitude. I have not yet attended to your Highness in the morning. Would the young lady please wait for a moment? The words attended to pierced Su Yingxue's heart like sharp thorns. She bit her lip. There's no need. She hurriedly left the prince's mansion and boarded the carriage, but an indignant feeling lingered in her chest, unable to dissipate. Chu Yihan. He had someone to attend to him, so why bother stirring trouble with her? Protect her? Liar. Su Yingxue traveled alone to the palace, unaware that Ziwei had entered her carriage. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 48. Chu Yihan missed her when the carriage came to a stop. Ziwei finally spoke. we've arrived. Su Yingxue was startled. When did you come? Zi Wei's voice remained hoarse. At the prince's mansion. Upon hearing his brief response, Su Yingxue inexplicably became angry. Fine, they'll go in first. You follow closely behind me and watch. If something goes wrong, take me away. Ziwei nodded. All right. To others, the inner palace was a place that they could never enter or infiltrate in their lifetime. But for Ziwei, it was not a difficult task to bring Su Yingxue out. However, he noticed that she was unhappy today. Chui Han had been waiting in the mansion for half a day but hadn't seen Su Yingxue. He sent Imo-Chi to the clinic to inquire, only to find out that the genius doctor had already entered the palace. Imo-Chi returned with the report, Master, did the genius doctor not receive your message? You had given instructions. That day, he had personally escorted Su Yingxue's maid back to the Marquis Manor to ensure that Su Yingxue would receive the message. Why didn't Su Yingxue wait for His Highness? Chui Han looked at the book on his desk. Hong Lian had made annotations with a red pen wherever he didn't understand. He flipped to the page about why women didn't keep their promises and quickly skimmed through it before heading into the palace. Su Yingxue spent another wasted day in the palace. The Empress had kept her waiting from noon until sunset, without granting her an audience or providing any news about Su Yuro. Su Yingxue didn't want the previous incident of closing the palace door to happen again. Su Yingxue disregarded the obstruction of the palace servants and walked out of the Fengzhou Palace. Stop! The Empress has not given her decree. Who allowed you to leave? A shrill-voiced eunuch pointed his delicate fingers and scolded. Please ask the Empress when she will issue her decree. Su Yingxue replied coldly. Humph! It is your honor to wait for the Empress. How dare you question your majesty? Don't court death and wait obediently. The eunuch walked into the palace hall, swaying his buttocks and pointing his fingers. However, Su Yingxue sensed something was amiss. If she didn't leave now, she would once again become a prisoner in the palace. Men, capture this assassin who tried to assassinate the Empress. When the Imperial Guard shouted, Su Yingxue secretly gritted her teeth. As expected, Ziwei appeared just in time and led her on a frantic run throughout the palace, closely pursued by the Imperial Guards. Su Yingxue was worried. Can we escape? Do you know the layout of the palace? Ziwei answered one by one. We can. I don't know. Su Yingxue felt a sense of helplessness at his reply. It's not convenient for you to carry me. Why don't you leave me behind and go survey the palace layout, then come back to take me out? All right. Ziwei gently set her down and hid her behind a rockery, instructing her, wait for me. His swift speed allowed him to elude the Imperial Guards easily. Anyone who managed to catch up and engage him in combat met a swift demise. Su Yingxue wasn't worried about his safety, but it turned out that she was in trouble. She had been spotted by the Imperial Guards. Run! Jump into the lake! Little Ginseng nervously shouted in her mind. Su Yingxue looked at the deep pool of water. I don't know how to swim. Besides, where does this lake lead to? If I say you can, then you can. Hurry, they're getting closer. Little Ginseng snapped its fingers, and Su Yingxue plunged into the water with a thud. When she thought she would struggle in the water, she found herself breathing smoothly. There was no water entering her mouth or nose. She tried moving her arms and legs, and indeed, she was swimming in the water. When have one ever lied to you? Swim over quickly. There's nobody in that palace. Little Ginseng proudly directed her. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 49. Misled Su Yingxue swam across the lake under Little Ginseng's instructions. She climbed ashore and found a secluded palace. It seemed like no one had come here for a long time, but the palace was majestic. The owner must have a noble status. Su Yingxue couldn't care less. When there was no one around, she rushed in. The hall was always bright, and there were neatly arranged clothes on the table. Su Yingxue didn't even look at them before taking them and changing into them. She did not drown in the lake, but the temperature of the lake in the middle of the night was enough to freeze a person to death. Su Yingxue clumsily changed into the new clothes before she remembered to ask Little Ginseng, Did you smell any medicinal aroma here? Little Ginseng remained silent, seemingly asleep. Su Yingxue shook her head, frustrated with the uncooperative little creature. She took off her black veil and a bamboo hat. At this moment, her beautiful little face was exposed to the air. With the help of the bright lights, she looked even more beautiful and alluring. Chu Yihan walked out from behind the screen and did not restrain his aura. Su Yingxue turned around and was stunned. You? Chu Yihan thought she was going to ask why he was here, so he replied, "This is my palace." Su Yingxue's face turned as red as a ripe shrimp. She covered her eyes and angrily exclaimed, "Why aren't you wearing any clothes?" Fuck. His chest muscles were full, his figure was smooth, and his perfect figure was hidden under his pants. There was even a bulge there, making her fantasize. Chu Yihan glanced at Su Yingxue's attire and explained. One was changing and planning to go to Fengzhou Palace. Humph. Su Yingxue coldly sneered, relieved that she hadn't trusted him. If it weren't for Ziwei, if she had waited for him to change clothes and then proceeded to Fengzhou Palace, he would have likely witnessed her tragic demise. "You're wearing my clothes," Chu Yihan sighed helplessly. What? What? Su Yingxue was dumbfounded, looking down at her attire. The white undergarments had grown considerably, and the purple-gold robe resembled a ceremonial gown. "You didn't wait for me." One entered the palace in casual clothes, intending to change into ceremonial attire before heading to Fengzhou Palace. "This way, it will appear that my intentions are directed towards you, not the Empress," Chu Yihan explained patiently. However, he kept a close eye on Su Yingxue's expression. Despite her surprise, her face remained unchanged, and she even seemed inclined to return the clothes to him. Seeing the clothes she had just taken off, Su Yingxue's face turned cold. "Let me borrow your clothes for a while. I'll return them to you once mine are dry." Her expression remained icy, and Chu Yihan recalled the annotations in the book. Without further ado, he picked her up and placed her on the bed. Su Yingxue gazed at the man in such proximity, feeling an overwhelming disgust in her heart. She vehemently resisted, shouting, "Chu Yihan, let go of me!" Chu Yihan stared at her with hesitation in his eyes. The disgust in her eyes was very real, but the content of the book was to be close to her at this time. The closer, the better. Was it wrong? But he couldn't ponder over it now. Her rosy lips were as tempting as ripe cherries. "Chu Yihan, can't you hear me? Let go of me." In an unexpected move, Chu Yihan kissed her, leaving Su Yingxue momentarily blank. Never before had she been so intimately close to a man in both her past and present lives. Chu Yihan was taking advantage of her. She frantically pounded on him, trying to prevent any further intimate actions. Feeling a slight pain, Chu Yihan abruptly smelled blood. He released Su Yingxue, but her hands continued to resist him, resembling sharp claws. "Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much." Chapter 50. Protect her. The impulse in his body made him want to do more things, but Su Yingxue cried. His heart felt as if it had been splashed with boiling lava. He immediately let go of her. Su Yingxue gritted her teeth and glared at him as she spat out one word coldly, "Shameless." This wasn't the first time she had called him that, but Chu Yihan could sense that this time she was genuinely angry. For the first time, his heart felt somewhat unsettled. He instinctively reached out to wipe the blood from the corner of her mouth, but Su Yingxue coldly slapped his hand away, saying, "Get away. Don't ever touch me again. I feel disgusted." "Su Yingxue, am I really that disgusting to you?" Chu Yihan's heart ached, and his dark, ink-like eyes carried a hidden sadness that was difficult to face directly. "Yes, you disgust me. So please, Your Highness, show some self-respect." Su Yingxue managed to suppress the urge to attack him. Chu Yihan turned around and left the chamber. Not long after his departure, Su Yingxue heard a commotion outside the chamber as the imperial guards began searching the palace. She hurriedly rolled up her clothes, intending to escape, when a man's roar came from beyond the door. "Get out! Your Highness, we have been ordered to search due to an attempt on the Empress' life." Boom! The response that followed was not Chu Yihan's voice, but a domineering and forceful palm strike that sent the line of imperial guards flying. A group of well-trained and highly skilled soldiers scattered before Chu Yihan like fleeing soldiers. Separated by the door, Su Yingxue once again experienced the man's power. If he had wanted to use force on her just now, there was no need to explain the current state she would be in. Chu Yihan returned to the chamber. His voice was clear and cold, tinged with a hint of a bloodthirsty aura. Stay in the chamber. No one will disturb you. Tomorrow, one will take you away. Su Yingxue coldly snorted, not providing any response. As Chu Yihan watched her slender figure enter the chamber to rest, his eyes filled with increasing confusion. He sat in the chamber, pondering throughout the night, trying to understand where things had gone wrong. The next day, Su Yingxue got up. Her clothes had dried, so she removed them and returned them to Chu Yihan. Chu Yihan had worn only a thin undershirt the previous day. Now, dressed in his court attire, he looked dignified and exuded an overwhelming presence. His entire being emanated a dominance that made it impossible for others to look up to him. Chu Yihan instinctively reached for her hand. 111 escort you out of the palace. Su Yingxue coldly evaded him. We'll go find Consort Xiang. After I finish treating her, she will arrange for my departure. Your Highness, there's no need for you to trouble yourself. I will accompany you, Chu Yihan said. Although his face remained cold, his voice carried a trace of warmth and protective intent. With Chu Yihan by her side, Su Yingxue boldly entered Consort Xiang's palace. After not seeing her for some time, Consort Xiang's complexion had improved significantly. Her exotic charm became even more enchanting, and her sapphire-like eyes sparkled. After inviting Su Yingxue behind the curtains, Consort Xiang asked her to take her pulse while expressing concern. I heard that there was an assassination attempt in Fengzhou Palace yesterday. Genius Dr. Chu, was it you? It was the Empress who forced me into the palace and tried to treat me as an assassin, Su Yingxue replied calmly, showing no fear of being accused as an assassin. Consort Xiang blamed herself. I'm sorry. One didn't consider everything carefully and made you angry, the Empress. If the Empress didn't have malicious intentions, why would she target me? Your Majesty, it's the Empress who harms others. You should be more forthright, Su Yingxue said, causing a hint of desolation to appear in Consort Xiang's eyes. For those interested in joining the group, please leave a comment with your QQ. The author will add you to the readers group, where you can urge updates, share spoilers, discuss related content, and receive occasional red packet giveaways. Come and join the fun. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 51. The war exchange condition. How could Consort Xiang not hate those who harmed her? However, she had no maternal family to rely on and no children. It was not easy to protect herself, let alone be righteous. Genius Dr. Chu, how much longer until one can fully recover? Consort Xiang's eyes carried a hint of urgency. She had been suffering from illness for many years, and her resilience had long been worn down. She believed that every day she lived was a gift. But now, she no longer wished to continue in such desolation. Su Yingxue took out the new medicine prepared for her in the Medicine King Valley. These pills fortify the foundation and cultivate vitality. They must be taken together with the detoxifying medicine. Your Majesty, please don't be anxious. Within a month, I will ensure that Your Majesty makes a full recovery. 1 month. A flicker of hope ignited in Consort Xiang's eyes, along with deep-seated resentment. After enduring years of torment, she could not let it end like this. However, when facing Su Yingxue, she still felt somewhat guilty. Genius Dr. Chu, there is not much one can do for you at the moment. But later, I can have someone escort you out of the palace to ensure your safety. Your Majesty, please don't trouble yourself for me. Right now, all I need is for Your Majesty to take care of your health. Su Yingxue focused on preparing the medicine, causing Consort Xiang to become curious. You were involuntarily entangled in the harem's disputes because of me. You nearly lost your life yesterday, and yet you are still willing to save me. Genius Dr. Chu, can you tell me what condition you asked of me? Consort Xiang, who had no one to rely on, was not a fool. She couldn't believe that Su Yingxue had no ulterior motives. They were strangers, so why would Su Yingxue risk her life to cure her? Su Yingxue had no intention of concealing it. The poison in your majesty's body was developed by my relative. The cause of her death is unknown, so I am determined to find out who poisoned your majesty and where she obtained the poison. So it's like this. Consort Xiang was surprised, but also felt somewhat relieved. She held Su Yingxue's hand and made a solemn promise. As long as you cure me, you will be my lifesaver. One will do everything in my power to assist you. You must believe me. I swear on my identity as the princess of the western regions. All right, I trust your majesty. Su Yingxue and Consort Xiang high-fived, solidifying their alliance. Su Yingxue then administered another acupuncture treatment for Consort Xiang. Consort Xiang personally escorted her out of the palace. Originally, she intended to take Su Yingxue to meet the emperor and then send her out of the palace. However, she spotted someone standing outside the palace. Ninth Prince? Consort Xiang's eyes were filled with astonishment. Xiang Ling immediately reminded her, Your Majesty, genius Dr. Chu was personally sent by the Ninth Prince. I see. No wonder one wanted to bring you to see the emperor, but you showed no emotional response. Consort Xiang covered her mouth and smiled. She still remembered Chu Yuhan's appearance when she first saw him many years ago. He was a young man full of grace, handsome, and with an extraordinary demeanor. Seeing him again now, he exuded even more dominance and fierceness, arousing admiration. His gaze shifted elsewhere, cold and unruly. But when it fell upon Su Yingxue, it unconsciously softened. Consort Xiang immediately pushed Su Yingxue towards Chu Yihan, till trouble the Ninth Prince to escort genius Dr. Chu out of the palace. Genius Dr. Chu? Chu Yihan raised an eyebrow slightly and squeezed Su Yingxue's hand. So you're called Genius Dr. Chu. Su Yingxue bit her lip and kicked Chu Yihan's foot in frustration before taking the lead and walking out. Consort Xiang watched them leave with a hint of envy in her eyes. No wonder Genius Dr. Chu was able to cure me and freely enter and leave the palace. It turns out he has someone to protect him. Your Majesty, you also have someone to protect you. The Emperor is protecting you. Xiang Ling reassured her. Announcement. We are moving box novel. Com to bro novel. Com, please bookmark our new site. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 52. Hong Lian is not allowed to enter Prince's mansion. The corners of Consort Xiang's mouth curled up into a bitter smile. What use is it for the Emperor to protect me? Will he investigate the cause of my poisoning and punish the Empress to avenge me? Your Majesty, with the assistance of genius Dr. Chu, this matter is not impossible. Xiang Ling supported Consort Xiang and remembered the torment she had endured over the years, feeling deeply distressed. The sapphire-like eyes of Consort Xiang radiated brilliance. It might indeed work. As long as she could protect herself and cure her illness, why couldn't she seek revenge on the Empress? On the carriage leaving the palace, Su Yingxue continued to wear her bamboo hat, refusing to take it off or speak to Chu Yihan. No matter how Chu Yihan looked at her, she acted as if he was inconsequential. Chu Yihan's voice was cold. I was waiting for you in the prince's mansion. Why didn't you wait for me? She was the one who broke the promise. He tried to coax her, yet she still harbored such animosity towards him. The stack of books brought by Emochi was nothing but rubbish. If he hadn't brought it up, Su Yingxue wouldn't have been so angry. However, the moment he mentioned it, Su Yingxue recalled seeing Hong Lian in his prince's mansion. Hong Lian, with the airs of a mistress, told her that she hadn't attended to Chu Yihan yet. Her heart felt as if it had been ruthlessly squeezed. After the carriage left the palace, Su Yingxue turned around and glared at Chu Yihan. One went to look for you. But since you've someone to serve you, why did you come and provoke me? 1. Su Yingxue, don't want to do something that takes away someone else's favor. If Chu Yihan was indecisive, she wouldn't bother with him. Su Yingxue quickly jumped off the carriage, and Ziwei appeared just in time. Before Chu Yihan could react, she had already disappeared into the streets. Chu Yihan returned to the prince's mansion, seething with anger, and immediately summoned everyone to question them. Imochi trembled. Master, one asked, and Miss Su did come, but she left before you arrived. Why did she leave? And even said that someone would serve me. Who was attending to me? Chu Yuhan's anger was icy, and Imochi immediately knelt. The people in the courtyard knelt, not daring to make a sound, fearing that they would only anger Chu Yuhan. If you can't figure out this matter, all of you get out of my prince's mansion. Chu Yuhan shouted in anger, causing everyone to tremble in fear. The old housekeeper couldn't help but speak. Your Highness, before the arrival of the genius doctor, Lady Hong Lian also came. I wonder if the two of them met. Hong Lian? Chu Yuhan's eyes narrowed dangerously. He took out the things that Hong Lian had annotated with a red pin on the desk and looked at them. Then, he remembered what he had done to Su Yingxue yesterday, which had led to her disgust and anger towards him today. Chu Yuhan immediately threw the books at Imochi. Tell Hong Lian that she is no longer allowed to enter the prince's mansion. Your Highness, Hong Lian has always had a good relationship with you. Imochi stared at him in disbelief. Hong Lian had been on good terms with Chu Yuhan for many years. Yet now she was forbidden from entering the prince's mansion? Do you want me to say it again? Chu Yuhan's eyes carried a stormy darkness, as if one more glance would be fatal. Imochi didn't dare to delay, and immediately went to the Silver Moon Pavilion to convey Chu Yuhan's order. Upon hearing about the unpleasantness between Chu Yuhan and the genius doctor, Hong Lian's face broke into a bewitching smile, and her eyes filled with a seductive charm. But Imochi's face turned grim as he informed her that Chu Yuhan forbade her from entering the prince's mansion. Her smile froze on her face. How is that possible? How could this happen? Your Highness wouldn't do this to me. It felt as if Hong Lian's heart had been pierced by a sharp blade. She grabbed Imochi, panic filling her eyes. Did you hear wrong? How could your Highness be angry with me? We have known each other for so many years, and we have such a good relationship. Announcement. We are moving box novel. Com to bro novel. Com, please bookmark our new site. Sorry for the inconvenience. Thank you very much. Chapter 53. The Battle Hong Lian's Punishment. Don't you know what kind of personality your Highness has? You knew that the genius doctor was someone you couldn't easily touch, yet you easily drove a wedge between her and your Highness. Your Highness didn't make a move on you already because of the many years of knowing each other, but these years of knowing each other end here. Imochi said as he shook his head and sighed. Seeing the disappointment and heartache in Hong Lian's eyes, his heart ached. It won't happen. Your Highness wouldn't treat me like this. Hong Lian sobbed, her eyes turning red. Hong Lian, don't be too upset. Imochi tried to comfort her, but before his hand could touch her face, she forcefully pushed it away. With a pained hatred in her eyes, Hong Lian said, It's all that genius doctor's fault. What qualifications does she have to make your Highness do this? Why does your Highness treat me like this because of her? How long has she known your Highness? Imochi realized the danger and grabbed Hong Lian's shoulders to remind her, You must not target the genius doctor. If Master finds out, he will punish you severely. You must not harm the person Master wants to protect. Imochi's nervousness indicated how much Chu Yuhan cared about that woman. Hong Lian quietly hid the jealousy in her eyes and gritted her teeth. Got it. Imochi finally felt relieved. But once he left, the flames of jealousy erupted in Hong Lian. She not only wanted to harm that woman, but she also wanted to make her die. No one could replace her position in Chu Yuhan's heart. She was the only woman who stood out by Chu Yuhan's side. Only she, who ruled over the Silver Moon Pavilion, was worthy of Chu Yuhan, the extraordinary talent. On the way back to the clinic with Ziwei, Su Yingxue remained silent. Ziwei, who was behind her, seemed like a non-existent person. Su Yingxue couldn't even hear his breathing. But when she sought it, Ziwei would immediately appear. Su Yingxue thought for a moment and was still angry. She questioned Ziwei, What were you doing last night? Why didn't you come back to find me? Ziwei's voice lacked any warmth. I have been watching over you. What do you mean? You were watching over me. Why didn't you just take me out of the palace? Su Yingxue's face was filled with anger. Since he was watching over her, why did he let her stay in Chu Yihan's bedroom all night? You didn't refuse him. Zi Wei's words were short, but enough to convey his meaning. If Su Yingxue had rejected Chu Yihan, he would have made a move and killed him. Even if he couldn't kill Chu Yihan, he would have taken Su Yingxue away. But from his perspective, Su Yingxue didn't resist Chu Yihan, so he had been hiding in the palace until Su Yingxue left and jumped to the carriage. Only then did he appear and take her away. You? Su Yingxue bit her lip and said, "Are you saying that I willingly stayed with Chu Yihan?" How could she willingly stay? She didn't. Su Yingxue returned to the clinic in a huff. She hadn't made any house calls for 2 days, which alarmed Manager Qi. He wanted to show concern for Su Yingxue, but she coldly ignored him. Only Zi Wei could approach Su Yingxue. He inquired Zi Wei, "Little brother, do you know why Miss is angry? It's not good for her health to be angry." "I don't know," Zi Wei replied expressionlessly. "Then bring a bowl of ginseng soup to Mississippi."
No.
Manager Qi's forehead was covered in sweat. It seemed that anyone who could be on the same side as Miss wasn't quite normal. Su Yingxue locked herself up for several days. In order to prevent herself from getting angry, she organized all the patient's files, prepared medicine for Consort Xiang, prepared medicine for Zi Wei, and filled her schedule to the brim, not allowing herself any spare time to think about Chu Yihan. Chapter 54. Luring him to drink medicine inside the Medicine King Valley, the whiskers of the little ginseng swayed in the air. "Hey, if you like someone, just admit it. Why are you being so awkward?" "I didn't," Su Yingxue said coldly. She had calmed down these past few days, and she no longer deliberately thought of anything. "But that your highness is handsome." The little ginseng couldn't hide its fondness for good looks. After living for thousands of years, it had seen countless people, dogs, and grass, but Chu Yihan was the most pleasing to its eyes. It would be a pity if Su Yingxue didn't get to see him every day. "If you like it, go and see it yourself." Su Yingxue opened her eyes after she finished preparing the medicine. She opened the door and called out, "Zi Wei?" A man dressed in black swiftly appeared before her. He didn't utter a word, but a deep purple hue at the corner of his eyes revealed his presence. It was a full moon night, and his expression seemed normal as usual, except for his increasingly pale lips, which confirmed Su Yingxue's suspicion. "Tonight, the poison will flare up. Drink this medicine and rest well for the night." Zi Wei glanced at the medicine and said, "I'm not drinking." "Why?" Su Yingxue grabbed his hand, and the prominent veins and the black discoloration on his arm were clear signs that the poison was acting up. He was enduring great pain. "You are in great danger," Zi Wei said calmly. Su Yingxue forcefully placed the medicine bowl into his hands. "It's just for one night. I won't die, but I don't want you to suffer this pain. The more the poison flares up, the harder it will be for me to save you." The poison in his body was highly potent, and if not for his powerful martial arts skills and deep inner strength, he would have died already. At present, he was holding on, and for Su Yingxue to save him, she had to minimize the frequency of the poison flaring up and gradually heal his body. Zi Wei put the medicine bowl down and refused to drink it. Su Yingxue picked up the medicine again, but he retreated. "Tonight, it's dangerous. You are currently experiencing the poison flare-up. Even if I'm in danger, you won't be able to protect me. Drink the medicine quickly," Su Yingxue urged him. Zi Wei, as the #1 assassin of the Silver Moon Pavilion, was exceptionally sensitive to auras. He could sense the danger surrounding Su Yingxue. He absolutely couldn't drink the medicine and fall asleep, losing his ability to protect her. Su Yingxue didn't possess such a heightened perception. She beckoned him with a wave of her hand. "Come here, I want to tell you something." Zi Wei stood still.
"Speak."
"Come closer. It's a secret that only the two of us can hear," Su Yingxue said, using a playful tone and winking at Zi Wei. Zi Wei's mind wavered, and he lowered his head. Her beauty had startled him. Su Yingxue continued to entice him. "Hurry up and come over. One have something important to tell you." Zi Wei's face unconsciously reddened, and he lowered his head, taking a few steps towards Su Yingxue. But as soon as he raised his head, Su Yingxue swiftly stabbed 2 needles into his neck and forcefully poured the medicine into his mouth. Weiss' body immediately went weak, and he struggled to vomit out the medicine. Su Yingxue firmly held his hand. Why are you so stubborn? I said I'll save you. So I will. You're not allowed to die in front of me. It's dangerous. Ziwei struggled, but he couldn't resist the strong effect of the medicine Su Yingxue had administered. Before long, his body turned weak, and he fell into drowsiness. Su Yingxue dragged him onto the bed, covered him with a blanket, and gently patted his emaciated face. Don't worry about me. It's just one night. Rest well. Assassins are humans too. You need to take care of your body to protect your master. Su Yingxue's lips curled up, revealing a sweet smile. Weiss' heart skipped a beat. Chapter 55. The battle it hurts to slap your face her Immels Edenerpevt im Rumfo Iltskugner Tagzine the Fstief of HD Diaknime and I his Doyle B, and he Lysiuk leaf PS Ela just as he had fallen asleep. Su Yingxue's mind was bombarded by the little ginseng's panic. No, panic-stricken beard. You fool. His intuition is spot on. Tonight is dangerous. Let's return to the Marquis Manor. The elite troops in the manor should be able to handle it. If he experiences a poison attack tonight, he won't have the strength to protect me anymore. Su Yingxue put on her hood, grabbed a horse from the backyard, and hurriedly made her way back to the Marquis Manor. Ihrov, we she didn't tansiebot teas emit 8 einem uwold be even more HLRSS. Uda HD nermfo poelp siam ot kill ray adhda. Odbladan yet eru all tiant on ignat rhe alpha with the help of little ginseng's power. Su Yingxue managed to hold her ground for a while, but gradually, the situation turned against her. Go to hell. The dealer of eth deal kalpka lasset nissa todu. Sage ilnip tyan the ria and migina psychotrat. Rhetthglauhuas u yixni algeli dodegd hd, kata air arm was stirg yb hdb, laid gown via hsa. Gee ouch. The little ginseng whined in a childish voice. That hurts. I didn't feel hurt. So why are you feel hurt? Su Yingxue gritted her teeth. She wanted to beat up this unruly fellow. The itlettel engezegn effed up putsisw, shrike ongelgerly tis sae at Su nu. Iyxe vite iler dia danaru woy that ti sa egduasner. Te woy litis ended up noxing mhi out. Ni fi woy were ot, eat I wuldo be eret ot, evis uer yef. Ilu. Su Yingxue was tripped by one of the attackers. Seeing the blade descending towards her, she was fortunate to have 3 silver needles in her hand. It was her last resort. However, before the blades of those attackers could reach her, a powerful gust of wind swept through, colliding with them and causing their bodies to break apart. Etseakrtsi eru and fgul iatnag swaldan un 8 uraj, ndna su yungst could ray the Odin's fo erdi beyond singthire. Ta damn, that was impressive. The little ginseng exclaimed in her mind, filled with awe. Su Yingxue furrowed her brows. Yes, it was impressive, but who was this formidable person? Ne whse urdunet, Audner she asw a man ujaxi and rua fosd, ilatohi ihs priocaleb of nulpipto at nosniu dna avuntenagrthi sev. Etg chin furdo osrwd in his dana dernima unstate idodal, be it all of ter nemiis dalef. NL when his gaze met hers, his deep and boundless eyes held a trace of tenderness. Su Yingxue's face involuntarily blushed. Emer bld kakla asrek udresh afterward, dtubhc ihan stodo and I front of Su Yujinx diaglan sayao. Srd Su Yingux adnir nerida m but as luad kier the soden of boldo tersptanel and slfly begni rent rappa as chu esihan osard screwed now. These attackers didn't even have a chance to utter a scream before they all lay dead on the ground. The streets of Chang'an were filled with corpses. UHC Aniwide sheet his swordnad toward to filtus ixuing white 1dn a ihs tone, which danib gelent morph hd, trats ukindier, ear uol? Iatib grh Su Yingxue shook her head. Fine. However, Chu Yahan's gaze fell upon the wound on her arm, and his expression turned grim. W. He sios endaso. Mhd I'll tell Guinness and Lifidus yixis jin d tire set. Arlni know the regv of crying while Tigni tis answered fk. Can I trade places with you? I also want to be embraced by such a handsome man. The little ginseng pleaded in its innocent and adorable voice. No. Su Yingxue instantly rejected the request without hesitation. Et leet elteen jgns fetal sadn. ESS, OBS, OB sob. Can't what? Chu Yihan looked at Su Yingxue with confusion. Su Yingxue blushed and shook her head. It's nothing, and I ate nuek tinsaw. Odies did have eth hertigodes y on OTM, high after all. He was the one who saved her life. Chu Yihan carried Su Yingxue back to her room. Su Yingxue suddenly felt a tingling sensation on her face. She had resolved not to return to this place for the rest of her life, but reality had delivered a slap to her so swiftly. Simak being slapped in the face hurt. Chapter 56: One can stay in the imperial residence. Chu Yihan came with a medicine box to bandage her wounds. Su Yingxue couldn't help but mock him when she saw his proficient movements. It seems that your highness has saved many women. Chu Yihan lowered his head, fully focused. Only his magnetic voice responded to her. Only you. Your highness doesn't need to lie to me anymore. There must be plenty of women serving you. Wasn't Honglian, whom she had seen that day, one of them? A man like Chu Yihan wouldn't be lacking in female companions, right? She wants to appear in the prince's mansion again, and she has never served me. Chu Yihan said each word with emphasis. After he finished bandaging her, he held Su Yingxue's hand and gently kneaded it. His strong fingers gently caressed her palm, as if checking for any injuries in her muscles and bones. But Su Yingxue found his actions ticklish and quickly pulled her hand away. Thank you, your highness, for tonight. I'll return to the Marquis Manor, Su Yingxue said, her face blushing. But before she could take 2 steps, Chu Yihan grabbed her arm. Once we leave the 9th prince's mansion, there will be a constant stream of people who want to kill the genius doctor. One will handle it myself, your highness. There's no need for you to worry, Su Yingxue retorted and vexed. Chu Yihan was domineering and formidable. Nobody dared to oppose him, but that didn't mean she had to rely on him for protection. Chu Yihan held on to her and pulled her back into his arms. Before you leave, one want to explain something to you. What is it? Your highness, please let me go. Su Yingxue resisted. What was there to explain to her? However, Chu Yihan dragged her into the study. On his desk, there was a pile of books, all about how to interact with women and make them happy. There were at least 10 books, each with circled questions and annotations in red. It was clear that the reader had taken them seriously. Su Yingxue was puzzled. Your highness, do you read these? Chu Yihan nodded. She was astonished. She had always assumed that someone like Chu Yihan would either read memorials or secret letters or study intricate military texts. Why would he read these books that were meant to deceive naive young men? Chu Yihan quickly answered her confusion. I initially wanted to use them to please you. So, one asked Honglian to annotate the parts one didn't understand. But she made you misunderstand. And when I followed her advice, you found it off-putting. That's why one ordered her never to come to the prince's mansion again, and one won't read these books anymore. Chu Yihan activated his internal energy and effortlessly shattered one of the books in his hand. His expression seemed somewhat serious, tinged with a hint of apology. But he wasn't one to apologize naturally, so he could only gaze deeply at Su Yingxue. Suddenly, Su Yingxue wanted to laugh. The dignified 9th prince had been deceived by Honglian. But when she considered that he had sought out these books just to please her, Su Yingxue's heart sank. She had misunderstood him. With a smile, Su Yingxue thanked him. Your highness, you've put in a lot of effort, but I still won't stay in the prince's mansion. It wouldn't be beneficial for me if news were to spread. I'll return to the Marquis Manor first. Stop. Why can't you stay in the prince's mansion? If you want, you can stay forever, Chu Yihan said, hiding his clenched fists behind his back. He didn't let Su Yingxue see the trace of nervousness in his tightly gripped hands. Stay forever? That's even more impossible. Besides, not only would her reputation be tarnished, but it would also affect Chu Yihan's reputation. Well, just thinking about it was a little detestable. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.